Yeah, I didn't check. Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and bring the jury in.
And after a few short questions, we'll be playing another phone call from here, Judge, so make sure the is connected through podium.
Okay. Need to turn the TV on too, so.
Could have mixed them up because all the jurors.
Well, I know, that's why I,
God, Paul.
Yeah.
right, and that's, yeah, that's what I thought. So. Well, that's right. We're in day what? And I don't know any of these people.
And I joke with these guys about it.
All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Leticia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Taking a minute here to make sure I have all of the right people, because I understand that there were two juries that sort of came in at the same time, and wanted to make sure everybody made it to the right place. All right. Again, I'm going to ask you the same question that I've asked you every day previously. Has anything occurred since we were last together that causes any of you to believe you could not continue to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case? If so, please raise your hand. No response. All right. With that, when we took our break, we were in the midst of some telephone calls, I believe it was. And Mr. Allen, how do you wish to proceed at this point?
So we were in the middle of, just so the record is very clear,
Exhibit 57.
57 we finished. Actually, I think 58 we finished, Judge. And we had also at the same time, former Special Agent John Grusing on the stand.
Yes.
He's here, so we were just asking him to retake the stand.
Okay, Mr. Grusing, if you would retake your seat in the witness stand, I remind you, sir, that you're still under oath.
Good morning, Mr. Grusing.
Good morning.
So we've had an opportunity to listen to all of the phone calls. We've got still one more to go. How, in your experience, as you're working this particular case, are you using the information you're gathering from these phone calls to develop what you talked about on Wednesday, this pattern of behavior for this particular defendant, to inform you of how you're going to interview her eventually?
Yes, we were working as a team and talking with Al after each call to determine exactly what happened on that call. And then before we would make contact with Leticia the next day, we would compare what we learned that day to previous days to see maybe what our new strategy would be.
Did the strategy change, like you're describing, from phone call to phone call or from day to day sometimes?
Yes, and even in the middle of a phone call, it might change depending upon her answers.
I noticed in the, I think it was the last phone call, there was a change where you start using the word, or Al does at your direction, I think, start using the word murder as opposed to accident.
That's correct.
Why did that change happen?
It seemed to us that Leticia was not accepting that this was an accident, even though we kept on posing that through Al. And since she was rejecting that, we encouraged Al to see what she would react to if we said, well, possibly this was a murder and possibly you were responsible.
In that last call also, People's Exhibit 58, I want to ask you about third person. In your life experience, have you encountered people that have referred to themselves in a third person?
At times, yes.
Would that be both professionally and in just regular everyday life?
Yes, most of it was outside of the FBI, actually.
Is that Can that be a hallmark of somebody that's self-absorbed?
It can be, yes.
Okay. Did you find Leticia Stauch during these phone calls and even during your interview with her that we're going to get to later this morning to also be self-absorbed?
Yes. Almost every call was centered around her and how she was feeling instead of us trying to get her to focus on Gannon.
Okay. As it relates to those last two phone calls, 57 and 58 that we listened to on Wednesday afternoon, was there any other important information in those phone calls that you used to develop that pattern of behavior in your mind going forward? And obviously this is a very open-ended question, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to explain those issues.
When Al posed to her about possible injuries to Gannon, when he was talking with her about murder, she removed Gannon from the conversation and said, "You're saying words like, 'Did I murder someone?' and 'Did I hit anyone over the head with a board?'" And she basically took Gannon out of the injuries that Al was accusing her of doing. We were trained to look for gaps in a story, like hours missing in a day, as well as illogical use of pronouns, and that jumped out at me.
Why does that jump out at you?
Because it was very personal, what they were discussing of Gannon. And then when she's describing the possible that she would be responsible for hitting him in the head with a board or possibly murdering him, she takes Gannon out of the conversation.
Okay. So basically depersonifying Gannon?
Correct.
Okay. This next phone call is the last one that we've admitted. It's People's Exhibit 59. It comes from February 21st, 1:44 p.m. It's 29 minutes long. At this point, Judge, I'd like to go ahead and publish that. It was previously admitted during Mr. Stauch's testimony. And then when this particular phone call is done, we'll bring Mr. Grusing back up.
All right, Grusing, you can go ahead and step down.
Hello?
Okay.
So, hey, you said there was an emergency that you need to talk about?
Yes. Are you okay? Because I sent you the message about stopping searching, and I said, "Are you ready to work together with me?" Yes, I sent that to you.
Okay, so what is it?
What do you mean? What is it? I'm telling you. Oh my God! I don't know how to clear to say this. Do you believe me now that I didn't do anything wrong?
I mean, I'm just trying to get you made it seem like there was some urgent news that you had to tell me, and this is
To you, and I sent you the link you were talking about with the landfill. That was old.
oh, so there wasn't really anything urgent and pressing that would help me find Gannon.
I'm asking you, are you ready to work together with your wife to do it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going off your list. Number one, Gannon. So let's focus on that. Okay.
So you read my list. Why are people sending this about lies about airports and all this? And
I don't know.
You can't have a straight goal in common.
I don't know. I don't care about social media. Never have. Who cares what people are saying? I rode with my mom to the airport.
Okay, where are you?
Where am I? I
Yes.
told you I just stepped out of work on lunch break.
Like, as in the node?
No, as in the headquarters.
Okay. Are you gonna be like able to like stay with your wife so we can work on this together?
I'm not making any promises.
I need to know like now, like starting tomorrow.
Well, you're not even here. If you're telling me starting tomorrow,
With the dogs. I can't fly the dogs.
well, how did the dogs get to where you're at if they couldn't fly?
I'm in a car with friends. That's all I've been doing. The dogs can't get on that airplane.
What friends?
Only thing I'm saying, my friend named Michelle, so the different people, some adjacent people to me that works for Harley. We stayed at their house.
Okay.
We've just been staying everywhere. The dogs cannot get on an airplane.
Okay, fair enough. But I want to get back to Gannon.
I want you to tell me you're going to work together with me.
That's not a
be together so we can break down everything, figure this out, get a plan in place.
But why is the safety of a child contingent upon anything other than finding him?
I can't help you if we're not together.
Yes, you can.
Fine, I can't do any of that together. The safety of a child is together because we have to write it down 10 freaking times and work through it. That's the safety. I beg for this.
But I still don't understand how you helping me with Gannon is contingent upon anything else.
Not contingent. I am your wife. Did you file for divorce? Did you?
I didn't hear what you said. What?
Did you file for divorce?
I told you that already. No. Do you want me to?
No. Are you cheating on me?
Am I cheating on you? No. Listen, we need to focus on Gannon. Okay. You told me you had
Some big plan.
no. It's not. Yeah, it is. You're right. It's a big plan to find my son. Absolutely. Okay. So listen to me. You made this like you always do in these scenarios. You made it seem like we could fix this immediately. You got some big piece of information. Listen.
Listen to me and be open-minded in order to. And when that comes, you taking my side in order for it to even be working. Because if you go against me, you fuck me, you be whatever, you try to do whatever, all these things. We can't get to what you need.
Okay. So that's what I wanted you to say because you just told me that finding Gannon is contingent upon what you getting what you want. Yeah, you said if I don't buck you or don't be with you or don't sleep with you, yeah,
Say that.
that's what you said in essence, is that if I don't give you what you want, we don't find Gannon. So listen, but hold on. Listen, I'm going back in now. I thought you had some emergency.
Number one, okay? Please, are you going to and have faith and confidence in what I'm saying to you?
If you tell me information I need to know on Gannon, like who took Gannon or what happened to Gannon, then we talk about this other 7 parts of your list, okay? But number one is Gannon. Nothing happens for anybody in the rest of my life, period, until I get information about Gannon or find him. I thought you didn't have a car. Sounds like a car to me.
I told you I dropped these old vehicle to burn some of the old vehicle because I don't have a light.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, number one, I need you to tell me that you have confidence and believe in me. Okay?
Number 1 on the list is Gannon, so. Okay, I believe in you and have confidence in you that you'll tell me the truth.
All right. Number one, find again. All right. So why come there hasn't been any kind of like locations, searches, anything outside of only where I went? So that should be the most concerning thing to you. Is that the first thing that has to be done? Okay. So tell me why that's not happening.
That's a question we need to ask law enforcement, not me.
But that's not something that you have even thought of to ask because, I mean, you called me to ask about this landfill that was some false that someone was messing around with your head, being a dick. But your guy, Mark, you haven't asked him this several times.
I'm sure. Yes, I've asked them this. Why are you searching there? Well, we can't tell you anything.
Okay, so then, next question. That I went, okay, was searched. Okay? Acres upon acres upon acres when I didn't even go to those acres. How do we find Gannon if none of those things, he was none of the places that I went? Does that not make you open up your eyes and say that I'm not involved, someone else is?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like back to your first question. I believe in you, okay? But I believe you know that someone else involved and you know who. That's what I want. Okay. So, but then you keep sending me messages, emergency, we can fix this right now, but then you never tell me anything.
Number two, that's the second thing. We know that, all right? Anything I haven't done. All right, so why come when I gave them the information that I gave them, why did they not look into it? Why did they not believe it? Why?
What information about Quincy Brown?
Anywhere.
Are you talking about Quincy Brown? What information are you talking about?
No, I did not.
What information?
Okay. You just said they don't tell you anything, right? That's what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
So, which means they would have gotten information from me.
Okay, so what information was it?
And that I told them they have not covered any areas except only the areas that I drove.
Okay, but what information are you talking about? Why won't you give me that information? I'm the father of the missing child, Tisha.
But I've already told you one time, and when I told you it wasn't good enough.
Well, tell me again. Tell me right now. I'm in believe Tisha mode.
Okay, how long do you have?
Like 5 to 7 minutes. Honestly, I gotta get back in.
5 to 7 minutes.
Well, what do you need? Tell me what you need. An hour? 10 minutes?
Are you on lunch? I mean, I'm not trying to mess you up at work.
No, I'm working like 4-hour days. So I mean, I come out because I told you I'd come out around this time. Okay, but I got another hour or some of work, and then I'm leaving for the day. Because they're just trying, like I told you this morning, they're trying to phase me back in. So I don't want to be out here for 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, so then what time can you sit down and talk with just you, not with you and all your other clan?
Right now.
So you got 30 minutes to give me right now.
Listen, I'll make up some bullshit when I go back in there, but yeah, I'll give you 30 minutes right now. Walk me through it.
Now I need you to answer this question. Why? How many of the videos, so it can all make sense to you, have you saw other than one video?
Listen, this is not Albert answers a bunch of questions. You tell me. No, you tell me what I'm missing or haven't seen. That's what this is about. This is not you.
Have you seen a video of anyone pulling into our yard after 4 o'clock?
Have I seen a video?
Did you see this?
Have I seen any video of that? I'm not sitting here answering questions. Okay, I haven't seen other than what's been released. I haven't seen what's other than been released to the public. I'm not sitting here getting questioned. You said you had a story to tell me about this.
Didn't say I had a story.
Okay.
Helping you.
Okay, well, help me. Don't. Okay, I'm listening.
Did you see any other videos?
I'm listening. I'm not being questioned. Okay. Tell me what I'm missing in the video. Just tell me. Don't ask me. Tell me.
In the video, when Harley comes home and Lena, I'm sure you had to see this. Just tell me where Harley parked her car.
I have no clue, Tisha. Tell me what you're trying to tell me. Now you're getting me upset.
You haven't seen this.
No, I have not seen anything. I told you that. I've seen what is on the internet on the video about the truck. That's it.
Okay. So can you wait by your phone for 5 minutes?
You said 30 minutes, and just if you got something.
5 minutes. But I need you to wait by your phone for 5 minutes because I have this girl's kids in here.
Yeah, what?
Her kids are in her car. I drove to get some food. I have her kids in here. So I just need 5 minutes to pull up in the yard for the kids to get out.
What does that keep you from sending a video?
It's not sending the video.
What?
I don't want to talk about it with kids around. They could hear me. I'm asking you for 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me pull in the yard and they get out.
Just tell me what you got to tell me. There's no kids in the car. I don't hear a peep, okay?
There is a kid in the car.
Listen, I knew either you tell me now or I'm just going to put the phone down and go back into work, okay? Because I don't got time to sit here. You jerk me around. I'm tired of you jerking me around.
Literally almost to the street.
Listen, I don't have 5 minutes. I got the 30 minutes you asked for. I got that. You start telling me whatever it is you got to tell me. Who cares if a kid's in the car? If I mean, that should be a good thing that you know information that can help you find the missing kid. I'm sure they've heard about it.
Well, I don't know if they did. They might have not have.
Well,
I'm turning on her street. Just hold on.
yeah, okay.
I swear to you, I'm literally turning on her street.
I'm
right
not
here.
questioning you. I'm in believe Tisha mode. I'm just waiting for some facts that I can believe.
Turning on her street.
Okay, I believe you.
Like I'm passing the church right now.
What church?
And then I'm going on to this.
All right.
The church, I guess their church. I don't know if they go to church there. I don't know.
Oh, you passed by it, but there's no sign? Okay, cool.
Yeah, there was a sign. I'm looking at the road so I can
Okay.
make sure it's the turn.
All right. Hey, I believe you.
I think that I know my way around.
I believe you. I'm not trying to question you. I just want to know if I knew the church or the pastor or anything.
Sorry, I'm literally turning in right now. And all I gotta do is pull over here. Can you go inside with your mom and then I'll just, yeah, and I'll be in a minute to let the dogs out. Hold on. All right, give me 1 minute.
So, yeah, okay. You there? Tisha? Yep, I'm here.
Let's stay here. And then I'll get the dogs when I get back and we just no. And then we can try to get to work. Okay. Literally opening the door, she's getting out. Make sure you do that stuff for your mom. All right. Where did you put mine at? Right there? Okay. Thank you. See you in a little bit. Sorry, her daughter is like old age. Anyway, all right. So, what behind all that is telling you is, I need you to believe Albert. I need you to believe that someone did take Gannon. I need you to believe that I've already given the police department the description. I've already did that. I need you to quit thinking that it's somebody just made up, because it's not. Obviously, I didn't do it. There's no way possible that I could have been hours and hours away in a certain window. I need you to help them re-look at that. I'm telling you, Gannon would have left our neighborhood anywhere between that time frame, and it wouldn't even be surprised if it weren't like the kid in North Carolina.
What certain window are you talking about?
The certain window I'm talking about, between 3 and anywhere that evening, because here's why. There was a lot of people out and about in the neighborhood. Everywhere.
So you weren't home during that certain window? Is that what you said?
Do what?
You said you weren't home during that certain window, or he could have left in that certain window?
I'm saying that's when it happened. So by the time I called, okay, Gannon still could have been in the neighborhood.
But you said when it happened. What is it, Tisha?
I told you already. You haven't looked at it to see. Okay, go to the ring. See, we went out the front door. When we left, we went out the front door. Okay? When we left, I set the alarm. I went out the front door. I came back in the front door. Made sure the alarm was set. Went out the garage. You can see that on the ring. When I came out, I think it was like 10:07, 10:08-ish, maybe. We left out. We were in the garage.
Okay.
There was no more, at that time, there was no more anybody going in and out. And the dogs do not set off the motion in the house.
Right.
They don't. Okay.
Not when they're in their crates. You're right.
Yeah, not within their crates. And as sure as heck, if I'm somewhere upstairs, they're with me. They're not just roaming around doing a thing. They're following somebody that they look. Okay. When we came back, I told you 15,000 times about the car following us at Petco. The reason I left the phone at Petco, you want to know why? Why don't y'all go check the alarm on it? I set an alarm for it to go off if I hadn't came back in the time frame to call the police. I set the alarm on there, Albert. There was no intention. I had my watch on, so it was no hiding where I was going or whatever.
But wait. So you set an alarm to call the police? Why?
No, not because someone was following us.
From the house or from Petco?
From the house
Okay.
to Petco.
Okay.
Then from Petco, that's why I kept walking to the door to look, because Gannon was laying down. He was playing the switch. So I knew that they knew nobody was in the car. That's what they thought. Maybe I was being suspicious.
Well, so help me out here, because I'm in believe teacher mode. So, okay, just so you know that. But somebody's following you from the house and you leave Gannon in the truck?
They never knew anybody was in the truck.
But if they followed you from the house, didn't they see y'all get into the truck?
I was not like from the house as in our house, like as in not the area that.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Help me be in believe teacher mode. Okay. All right. Don't start spinning. Just tell me.
I'm spinning.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to.
Let me go through the whole entire thing.
Okay. I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So I sit there. I was playing with these period pad things because apparently dogs have periods. Okay. So I'm holding the thing and I sat there and I said alarm, just for the alarm to go off. Like, whatever. That was for the alarm to go off. Maybe I was being too superstitious. I just was being whatever. I don't know. Okay.
Sorry.
And now you're yawning?
Listen, I don't sleep good at night. I haven't for years. You know that. So go ahead.
Albert, I was supposed to deliver papers.
Deliver.
So I couldn't do it, Albert.
Deliver papers for what? Tisha?
When I went to Nevada, there was this pregnant lady. So I agreed to help the pregnant lady because she was really, really pregnant. She gets in the car, which is why Gannon was not in the front seat. He was in the back seat.
You said wait. You said when you went to Nevada?
Went through Nevada.
Oh. I'm like, what? You're in Nevada? Anyways, go ahead.
Right. When I realized she's not pregnant. Once she gets in the car.
Was this the same lady that was following you?
I don't know if they were following us. I just know there was a car following us. When I get off, I turn where Harley gets the eyelashes done because I thought I would lose them. Then I saw a pregnant lady. She looked legit like 8 months pregnant.
What kind of car was following you? Because maybe they can't.
He told you this 15 times.
Oh, okay.
It was a blue something, like a blue little car, like a Cooper or something like this.
Okay, so like a blue, not red, right? Just a blue one.
No, it was the red earlier in the day was nothing. It's already been checked out.
Okay, all right.
The reason I know that one's been checked out is because I had somebody in Lorson Ranch do it.
All right, I was just making sure. I make sure I keep these cars straight. So it was the blue one, not the red one.
See,
No, don't get upset. Don't get upset. I'm just trying to get it straight. I'm not picking holes in your story. I'm just making sure we're on the blue car. Okay. So now back to the pregnant lady that gets in the front seat.
So the pregnant lady gets in the front seat, but she's not really pregnant. I don't know that she's not really pregnant, but she says she just needs a ride. I felt bad. She looked really, really pregnant, like 8 months.
I said, I'm just listening.
You know what? I'm not going to help if you're going to do this to me.
Listening and believing?
I really came in this to be honest with you.
Okay, and I'm just listening.
No, you aren't. You're being a dick by saying, That's being a dick to me.
I don't know why you're saying that, but does the pregnant lady know what happened to G? Does she know where Gannon went?
Can I finish?
Yeah, absolutely.
She wasn't really pregnant. She had about, I don't even know how much money inside of this thing that makes her look pregnant. So you know where my mind immediately goes?
Where?
What would you think a pregnant person disguising as pregnant but money in her belly means?
She probably robbed a bank.
Okay, she might have.
Or I am.
She could be involved in something crazy, right?
Yeah. I would be scared of myself, even if it was a woman.
Yeah, because that's pretty scary, right? You're making fun of this like it's...
No, I'm not. If somebody got in my truck with a pregnant belly full of cash, I'd be worried to death. You're right.
I don't know. I don't know how else to help other than to know we were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay. Are you talking about Petco?
Yes, because Petco, I just was supposed to walk in Petco, look around, be normal, go drop this lady off somewhere.
Oh, so she told you to walk into Petco?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She forced me.
Of course, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Did she have a weapon, like a gun or a knife or something to threaten you, or what?
How do you think someone would force you? You're sensitive.
No, you're a tough girl, so I'm just gonna take a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. If somebody,
Tough girl.
yeah, I don't think you'd be scared easy by somebody like that. So that's just what I'm saying. You probably start swinging unless she had a gun or a knife or something.
This is a joke to you.
No, I'm serious. I'm trying to.
You finally are getting like legit, and it's a joke to you.
I'm sorry you think that, but go ahead.
I'm not. Forget it, man. You're not wanting to stand by my side. You don't want to help.
I'm right here standing by your side, listening to the truth. Okay, I'm in believe teacher mode, like I told you.
Yeah, and then what you're gonna do? Tell me I'm telling a lie and hang up?
Are you telling a lie?
No, that's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna believe it. I told you it was beyond your wildest imagination to know he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He was in the wrong place, or y'all were in the wrong place? Okay, we was in the wrong place. Okay, all right. I mean, are you telling me this? I don't know. You want me to believe you, but I feel like you're just telling me something to make me feel better about Gannon missing. Okay, so because it was kind of like the Quincy Brown thing. I mean, now it's a pregnant lady with cash in her belly. Okay, I believe you. What's next? What happened next?
Now you're making silly.
No, I'm trying to make sense of all of it. Okay, you want me to believe you? I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Tell me the rest of the story.
Albert, to sum it up, it's just being caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time with people who are money laundering, wanting me or whoever they can get to deliver paper to these Mexican restaurants and you're supposed to get packages back from them. And I wouldn't do it. So that's why we were on County Line Road, because I was scared to death. I left. So I was going round and round and round to make sure that no car followed me.
So is that where they were trying to send you, or you just went there because you knew that was out in the boonies?
No, because 25, I got on Interstate 25 and it was backed up.
Oh, so you did like we did that one time and took a detour?
With nothing to do with whatever. They've already searched the entire area. I'm innocent. That's who has Gannon, okay?
The pregnant lady with the cash?
No, whoever has proof, because I've already given it to the Mexican guy. Why do you think I told you that about the Quincy thing? Because the whole Mexico. We need to be looking at any routes going into Mexico, and I've been telling you this.
No, but okay, all right. I'm out of believe Tisha mode now, okay, because you told me Quincy Brown was in Colorado Springs. His family told your news reporter that he's in Mexico, okay? You didn't know that beforehand. And of course, you have nothing to say about that. I'll talk to you later.
Mr. Grusing, if you would, I assume that's who you want. Right?
Yes.
Mr. Grusing, if you would resume your seat in the witness stand, and remind you, sir, that you're still under oath. Allen?
Thank you, Art. Mr. Grusing, we talked about just prior to you, us actually listening to that last phone call about Leticia being very focused on herself as opposed to finding Gannon. Did there seem to be a focus on, from her standpoint, on making sure she was going to stay with Al?
Yes.
What's the significance of that in your mind as an investigator?
She wanted finding Gannon to be contingent upon Al coming back into the marriage with her.
Was it fairly consistent that she would precondition giving information on at Mr. Stauch promising to stay with her?
Yes.
Did that help with your building pattern of behavior preparing for her interview?
It did.
Does that also give her a way to calculate the flow of information that law enforcement got?
She was, yes.
In what way?
Well, and Al was doing a good job of deflecting questions. She was probing for what he knew, what he had seen. And as Al and our team knew from now, whatever facts we would give her would shift her story to meet those.
Along those lines, was it clear based on these phone calls that she was very closely following the advancement of the investigation?
Yes.
And would she appear to, from your perspective, use the information that she would get from following the investigation and then explain away things that might be found in different areas?
She would. And because it was only her and Gannon together, it's only her story that mattered.
Did that appear to be an effort to manipulate the investigation?
Yes,
Is that a calculated move on her part?
it was.
There was that one section in that last phone call where she is expressing concern with areas of searches. Is that showing that indication that she's following the investigation from afar?
Yes, you're right.
Was she still at this particular point trying to imply that she was in the Colorado Springs area?
Yes.
Did you know specifically where she was at this particular time?
Yes, we knew she was in South Carolina.
Talking about her efforts to manipulate the investigation, did she point throughout all of these phone calls at random unknown persons?
It's hard to say random. It seemed to be somewhat calculated.
Random from your perspective as an investigator, calculated from her perspective. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes,
Okay. So we have Eduardo, right?
correct.
The information that she gave about identifying Eduardo, so any identifying features, do you remember that right now?
I don't.
Okay. If it was basically a 5'8", thinner Hispanic male with pockmarked face, is that a very detailed or not very detailed description of somebody?
Not if you have extensive interaction with him, which she told us in her story that she did. That was prior to me coming on, so I was reviewing that information.
Okay. And then changing it later to say, well, maybe he was actually a black guy, like a Puerto Rican.
Correct.
And then developing into Quincy Brown.
I believe next she went to Uncle Matt.
I was going to get to Uncle Matt here in just a second. Do you remember as it develops into the Quincy Brown story?
I do.
Did that coincide with the same time that Most Wanted release was issued for Quincy Brown in Colorado Springs media?
Yes.
And then you mentioned Uncle Matt. Did she give any identifying features for an Uncle Matt?
She did not. She laid the blame for Uncle Matt at Gannon, saying this was Gannon had been talking about Uncle Matt prior to Gannon's disappearance, and then Gannon was jumping on Uncle Matt, and then Gannon disappeared because of Uncle Matt.
There's that one portion of time where she's at least relaying the idea that she's driving in a car with some other kid in this last phone call that we just listened to.
Yes.
Could you hear any noises from that side of the phone call that indicated a kid was in the car?
We could not.
Did you hear any doors open or close like she was indicating she just dropped a kid off?
No.
There's also reference by her about driving past a church. You remember that portion?
Yes.
And Al actually presses her and says, what's the name of the church?
Correct.
I didn't hear. Did she give a name of that church?
Couldn't hear her give a name. At least I didn't.
There was an interesting quote that she made in that particular call, and it was, I need you to believe someone took Gannon. What's the significance of that type of a statement from the defendant?
Well, she was, again, the last one with him, and she's now tried 4 or 5 someones, and now she's not giving us an identification of this pregnant lady. We were not scripting Al to yawn or do those things during this one, but it was obvious that this was not going to lead us anywhere closer to Gannon. So with her not giving us a name or anything to follow up on, we were fine with Al just reacting naturally to this new story.
Okay. The leading up to the pregnant lady with some sort of a money pregnancy thing, was there any indication that somebody followed her from the home area Lorson Ranch to Petco?
There was not.
Were you aware that she actually made 2 Petco visits on January 27th that were basically 2 hours apart on that day?
Yes.
Was there any indication through the investigation that someone was forcing her to go into Petco?
There was not.
As it relates to this pregnant lady with the money thing, did she ever give any detailed information about description of this pregnant lady with money coming out of her belly?
No.
She mentioned money laundering in Mexican restaurants. Curious your thoughts on that angle of it, that there's a description of Eduardo being a slim Hispanic guy. Then she changes it to a black guy or a Mexican guy, and now we're back to Mexican money laundering clans. Thoughts on that from your perspective as an investigator?
She goes back and forth whether it's someone involved in the criminal element must be responsible for someone like this, or Gannon is responsible through accidents. So she's ascribing criminal behavior to most of these people that would have inflicted injuries on him or taken him.
Okay. And as it relates to blaming others, does she consistently almost try to shift blame onto Gannon?
She does.
In what ways?
It's accidental. Well, she did it at the very first by saying he just left, ran away. But then throughout, she will say that he was involved in an accident, or he stepped on something, or he hit his head, or he busted his lip. Those sorts of injuries that he's causing to himself.
As it relates to those descriptions of various injuries, does that also include the bleeding from the rectum?
Yes.
Okay. In those descriptions, was she also giving information that only somebody with knowledge of those injuries would have, the actual injuries that Gannon suffered?
Correct.
Was that significant to you at all?
It was, and I believe it was on the 13th, the very first phone call we had. It's the first time that she mentioned Quincy Brown, or the most egregious injuries she ascribed to him, and that was the bleeding from the head, the hands, and the knees, and then blood pouring from his face. So she was describing, things, and as we were going, we were trying to how can we use that to help find Gannon? But then she would shift later and say, whether it was the burns or the face, that those injuries were not as significant. So we were just back and forth. But throughout, if you look at the whole picture of these 10, 12 calls, she was describing a significant amount of injuries to him.
As we listen to all of these calls, and I think we've actually admitted 16 separate phone calls into evidence in this case, were there actually even more than that were conducted that were not admitted in this trial?
Yes, I believe so.
How did you use the information that you gathered in those particular phone calls that you participated in? How are you using that to build the pattern of behavior for this specific defendant?
Well, our primary goal was to find Gannon at this point in the investigation. And information was coming in daily. We had a whole timeline across their break conference room that we would add new data to each day. So even with the story about the pregnant lady and the blue car and whatever else we're trying to compare, it will something new give us a clue to where Gannon is. And then secondly, we're looking at building a case against Leticia and working towards an arrest and an interview.
Okay. So let's jump into that. When was the defendant ultimately arrested?
March 2nd, 2020.
What were circumstances that led to that arrest as it relates to your involvement?
So the sheriff's office and the FBI agents that were assigned the case in Colorado Springs had drafted an affidavit that a judge had signed off on. And our team had been communicating with law enforcement in South Carolina to arrange an arrest and possible interview of her if she was willing to afterwards.
Did you in fact travel from Colorado to South Carolina to be participating in that?
Yes.
Was that on March 2nd exactly?
Yes, it was.
Describe for the jury, how were you there when she was taken into custody?
I was.
Describe that for the jury.
I was on the very periphery, wasn't close, but it was in a mall parking lot, I believe, and local law enforcement did the arrest. I did come up and introduce myself to Leticia and told her I was with the FBI in Denver and I would like to speak with her, that we were going to take her to a law enforcement facility.
Did you in fact then have her transported to that law enforcement facility?
Yes,
Was that at the Myrtle Beach Police Department?
it was.
Did you interview her there?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach with People's Exhibit 354?
May.
You recognize this exhibit?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
That's the DVD of the recording of the interview I had with Leticia. I have initialed it and dated it.
Is it a fair and accurate copy of that interview that you conducted on March 2nd of the defendant?
Yes.
At this time, I move for admission of People's Exhibit 354.
Yes.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 354 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Do you know roughly how long this particular interview is?
Approximately 5 hours.
And let's go over Is there an initial phase of an interview where you maybe are building rapport with somebody?
Yes, letting whoever I'm speaking to understand the purpose of the interview, explaining why I am there. And then because Leticia was not free to leave, I advised her of her rights pursuant to Miranda.
Is it typical to do the advisement of rights under Miranda when somebody's in custody?
Yes,
What's the purpose of that?
to let her know that she doesn't have to talk to me if she doesn't want to. She can have an attorney present and she's free to leave at any time.
Is this something that you just talk to somebody about? Or is there a form that you?
There's a form that I go through.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you actually have them sign the form?
Yes,
Did you do that with this defendant?
I did.
Do you know what name she used to sign that form?
I don't remember. I'm guessing it's Letecia Stauch.
Does it say Tisha Stauch on it?
That sounds right.
Okay. Did she indicate that she understood her rights?
She did.
Did she even go further than that in trying to put conditions on a specific right as it
Yes.
relates to attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Did that indicate that to you from your perspective that she appeared to understand those rights and could contemplate them and potentially even try to put additional conditions on them?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to start publishing, and what I intend to do with People's Exhibit 354 is just keep Mr. Grusing on the stand, play portions based on questions that I'm asking. Obviously, the whole interview is in evidence, Judge.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, can you, try to, you can pull that chair back a little bit. We are going to record this.
And Judge, I'm wondering if we can check with the jurors to see, this one's a little quieter than the other recorded phone calls, if they can hear this okay.
The other thing is, it sounds as though your plan is to play part of this and then stop it and ask questions during part of it. Is
That's
that
right. Yeah,
correct?
I'll do this throughout, Judge.
Okay. I think for the purposes of the record to remain clear, you just need to identify the timestamp where you're stopping.
Yeah. I will. Yep.
About as loud as I can make it.
Okay. Let's see.
Protection.
Can you all hear it okay?
So Leticia and John Grusing with the FBI met you in the mall parking lot. Do you know why you're here? Did they inform you, the officers, of why you're under arrest?
I'm under arrest.
Yes,
For what?
for Gannon Stauch. A warrant was issued out of Colorado.
Okay, but no, someone could have just called me. A big thing I would have.
Yeah, and apologize for that. Because of the nature of the warrant, it being a murder warrant, there's, and that's what I'd like to talk with you about today. That's why we're not having a cast of thousands here and whatever, is we would like to get to the bottom of what happened there. I know that a lot of things have gone on with your life, a little bit of how this turned out. Okay, but because you were arrested, you're not free to leave. I need you to sign of advice of rights before we can talk.
Well, I mean, so I'm getting charged with what now?
So you were charged in a judge in Colorado Springs signed off. So the way this case worked was El Paso County got the original case. They didn't have enough manpower to work it.
Okay.
So they called the FBI.
Right.
Part of for the FBI, an extension of the profiling unit, and I came in and assisted. And I've been helping for about the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
So our evidence response team, you've probably seen that on the news, we've been doing some searches, et cetera. And then other FBI agents have been writing warrants. So a lot of warrants have been written. We've gone through the court. El Paso Sheriff's Office and FBI have worked together. And we found enough you call it probable cause
Okay.
for a warrant to be issued. So that's why you're here today.
Okay, warrant for what though?
It was for the murder.
What
of
murder?
Gannon Stauch.
So Gannon is murdered.
That's what the evidence shows.
Okay.
And I'm happy to share with you evidence, but we can't have a conversation unless you're advised of your rights.
Okay, what am I right?
So this is an advice of rights form. I'll fill it out at the top. And you don't have to answer any question.
Oh, I am.
Okay, so I'm not going to force you to answer anything. If you want this interview to be done, it's done. So we are in South Carolina. A second. So I'd like you to initial these as we go through them. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before questioning if you wish. And if you decide to answer questions without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering at any time. I'm not going to force you to say anything.
Okay, so I had already had reached an attorney, but all the information.
So it's up to you. I'm not going to force you to say
I
anything.
mean,
If you don't
I
want
can talk to you, but I mean, the last time I asked for an attorney talking to them, I wasn't allowed that after I asked.
that's not how this is going to go. This would be a
I believe you have more
conversation.
integrity being FBI that you would do that.
I've got a family to protect,
Okay,
so I'm not
so
going to violate any
You
laws.
don't mind doing that at all.
If
But
you-
at any point, I would like to call my attorney if
Yes,
I felt
ma'am.
like, is that okay?
That is okay.
Okay, so can I write that in somewhere or?
Well, that's this one right here. If you decide to answer any questions without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop at any
Okay.
time. So, and if you need food, water, whatever else,
I don't.
this is not, we're not going to have people with guns standing outside trying to
I don't.
intimidate you. I want this to be your statements in
Okay.
our conversation. So I was thinking of a lot of things to say to you today because I've been helping, I've been involved. I've unfortunately worked a lot of missing kids cases. That's why they called me to do this.
Okay.
A lot of time with Mark, who was the dad. Dylan, who actually was in Colorado Springs with mom,
Mhm.
went to go see dad. This was in November of 2012.
Right.
And then he disappeared. It's a lot like what happened here. What I think happened with Mark is friends, and Mark wouldn't let him go.
Okay.
And I think Mark got upset. I think Dylan did some things that irritated Mark. I think there was just a punch in the face,
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
And things went downhill from there.
Well,
And I'm not saying
I
that's
just
what
want to
happened
say
with
to
you.
you, I can help you because what you're charging me with is not, or whoever, is not the case.
Okay.
Gannon is alive, okay, and I can help you.
Okay, great.
But see, here's the problem. When I reached out to people about getting help, I said, hey, I need someone who's going to help me to help you guys. I couldn't get that from anyone at all.
We're happy to help you.
Okay. So I understand you might say you have whatever evidence that you might say you have, but that's not a case. It did not hurt my child. Okay. Need more assistance besides the FBI. You're probably going to need some DEA, probably need a lot of help.
I'm happy to get whatever help.
Okay.
How do you know?
But
if
I
you're alive?
can't help you unless people are willing to help me. And I did offer every opportunity to sit down and talk with not only my husband, but with Landon to try to come up with the best plan. I really did. And I've been begging every single day, please, please, please don't say this. Okay. I know you're expert in your field. Okay. I know you may say you have whatever evidence you have, but it's just not true. Okay. Not.
It's not true that Gannon's dead.
I'm not going to sit here and say 100%. I can tell you that there's really things that wouldn't have occurred that I can help you guys with to know that. And it leads back to some things just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's the truth.
Okay.
That is the very truth. And every day that went by, I had to do nothing but not only protect myself, but protect my family in this, protect other people in this. And that's just what it's in.
So I think our biggest problem is what happened at the house then.
At the house?
Yes.
Well, there's nothing that would have happened at the house that has anything to do with what I'm talking about at all. That has nothing to do with anything. Because you guys have like clearly put out this information about Gannon not coming home and then this and that and the other. And I get, like I say, you're experts. People with forensics are experts. But it's just not the truth. It's not the truth. And until I know that I got to get help from some people other than someone just having me in a room.
You've got to get help to do that.
I got to get help to give everyone what they need because I'm going to need my mom protected. Okay, I'm going to need my brother and sister protected. And most importantly, I'm going to need Harley protected. And on that same note, I'm also going to need other people in Colorado protected. And see, people say FBI can offer that protection.
We can.
How?
If it involves
Does it
an
mean-
11-year-old, if it involves finding an 11-year-old, then we can.
And it means that we can have new identities.
It does. And I've had to do that before. We call it an informant, but we can do it for. We can
How
do
do
it
I
for
know
the general public. Who else would you trust?
I don't know, like, sir. I don't know. There's nothing that happened at any house. Nothing that happened at any house that would have hurt, harmed, murdered, done anything to anyone. Okay? Wrong place, wrong time.
You were in the wrong place, or Gannon was?
I was.
What about Gannon?
We all were in the wrong place. Even my family was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Even Lena, even Harley. Okay? With all of us in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I
So-
swear to you on that.
So
But I gotta get
just like
help.
you have trust issues, let me tell you where I am.
Okay.
So I'm with the FBI, where when a child goes missing, if they're underage,
Right.
then we can get involved, and it can be even a kidnapping. So if Gannon is moved from one point to another without his, will, then it's a child kidnapping.
Right.
And so that's what we're working with as. And with me as a federal employee,
Mhm.
with me working a federal case, because right now it's filed with the district attorney,
Right.
but the U.S. attorney can file it as well. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
What do you mean?
The U.S.
Does it get-
attorney is the federal
Okay.
prosecutors.
Gotcha.
Right now it's on the state. When you're talking to me, we are recording this for your integrity and mine.
Right.
But if you'd rather not say something, if I would rather you just say, I don't want to answer it, instead of telling me something that's not true,
Okay.
because there's something called false statements, which is it's U.S. code 1001, to where if you lie to us during an investigation, that can be a year of prison time.
Right.
So that's why I said on this last one, if you want to not answer a question, I'm not going to push you.
Okay.
Okay. So with these people, taking Gannon or whatever else, if it's not true, just say, I'd rather not answer that. Okay. Because we're different than your local detectives and whatever else. It's not a felony to lie to them.
Okay.
Okay. So my goal, though, is to find Gannon.
Right.
And if you need protection, if there truly is someone out there, we can provide that.
That's not me. Like,
Happen though, I will need you to explain what happened from that night,
which night?
the night that he disappeared.
So I've stopped it at 12 minutes, Judge. Just as a pause. In the beginning portion of that, Mr. Grusing, when you're advising her that she's been charged with murder, it appears that she acts like she's confused. What was your impression of that?
Yeah, so eventually she asked me, so Gannon's been murdered, but yeah, she appeared to be confused as to why she was there and what investigation might have been going on at the time.
She makes a statement, you could have just called me.
Yes.
Was that basically indicating that could have just called her and she would have come in and talked?
Yeah, and that's something I've heard multiple times over my career of why didn't you just call me instead of I have to be arrested for this?
Were you aware that very early on in this investigation, she was resisting calls from Detective Bethel to come in and give an interview?
I was.
She makes a statement that she's been begging every single day for somebody to help her and says stuff like, I can't help if you don't help me. What was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think I could couple that with when she said that she would need even more help than the FBI could provide, whether it's DEA, and then she rolled into she needs secret identities for herself and multiple people. I think she was giving me a task that she thought I couldn't meet, and therefore she might not have to talk about difficult things.
Is the FBI equipped to do those things for witnesses that need protection?
We are. It takes a very extraordinary circumstance, but they could if they had to.
Okay, so I guess the question is if that was actually necessary here, could the FBI have provided that?
Yes,
So you were the right person to talk to if that was the eventuality?
I could get the right person for her.
Okay. You're not omnipotent.
No.
I want to jump into the next section. Did you have a chance to talk with her about the calls that we'd gone over, those consensual recorded calls?
Yes.
I'm going to jump to 12 minutes and 30 seconds, Judge. I can find my mouse on the screen. There it is. It's actually 12 minutes and 33 seconds. I can't get that 3 to cooperate with me.
You mean like talking to him? Oh, okay. So let me just explain that to you. And you might think that's like super, like
I'm not going to
whatever,
judge you here. Leticia.
whatever. To him was the reason I already knew someone was listening, but because of him not ever like being like supportive, and I tried originally to talk to him when he first got there. That was the only reason I said those things to him, was just because I was out of anger and out of like hurt and not being able to have like support. It was nothing to do with like I'm sitting here going to tell you these. That was just anger, stupidity.
Council approach, please.
Pause that 13 minutes and 11 seconds. Picking back up from where we left off, it's at 13 minutes and 11 seconds and playing again from there.
And I already knew, like, if you heard it, you heard me say a lot of times, I know people are listening because I know the same time that someone called, every time I could hear people.
Right.
I knew that. So me saying those things to him was just being, what is the word you want to call it? Selfish or facetious, or whatever you want to call it. Just because I was hurt by him not wanting to work together to figure this out, because I did have like originally initial different thoughts on certain things, and that was me trying to like basically read him and try to figure the situations out. So I understand that you may have heard those or whatever you may have heard, and that's okay, because that totally was not it. That was not me trying to be.
Right.
That was just being stupid to him.
So I have a question.
So, and it's paused right now at 13 minutes and 59 seconds. Mr. Grusing, what were your impressions of her saying that she's giving all this misleading information in those phone calls because she's just angry?
Yeah, I don't think there's much more to comment besides that. Instead of being focused like Al was and the rest of us of trying to find what happened to an 11-year-old boy. She was again focusing on her feelings.
Does it also though show potentially that it's very calculated, that she's doing things in response to what's happening in the investigation?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then we'll just play from here until 15 minutes and 42 seconds. In this particular section, do you remember asking her about mental health and sound mind and those types of things?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll play starting here and go to 15 minutes and 42 seconds.
In regards to that, were you of sound mind? I mean, did you have, are you undergoing any treatment for anxiety or any depression or anything like that right now? Or?
I mean, like, you mean, like, I've had anxiety since I was like 16, 17-ish. But like, as far as like undergoing like any kind of special treatment, you know, like sometimes I might have to take like a little rest.
Right.
But I didn't see like counselors or like, anything for any kind of like, depression. And then plus two, like right now with I already got medical records. I'm 8 weeks pregnant, so I can't see any kind of like I mean, I wish I could because then it would help a lot with anxiety, but
Right.
I can't.
Okay.
But
So you were of sound mind when you were talking to Al. You were upset with him and upset with the situation of him not being by your side to this whole thing.
right. But then at the same time, like I have to sit back and think, you know, in a person's brain, you hear 100 different things. You do get do whatever. I just wanted him to know, because he knows, like I've been taking care of our kids like for so long. Like I'm not here to bash either one of them. They had a lot of different separate situations going on that I've always taken care of the kids. And so there's been times I've protected them from so many people, you know.
So it's now paused again at 15 minutes and 42 seconds. Why are you asking these types of questions about sound mind and mental health based questions?
Well, I spoke with the district attorney's office before the interview, and they suggested that I ask them. I don't always ask these of people that I'm interviewing, but because of the varying stories and because of the district attorney's office and investigators looking forward to trial, we wanted to make sure that she knew what she was doing while she was talking to Al during our investigation, and then while I was even talking to her at the present.
When these types of investigations are ongoing, is the investigation goal to try to build a case that will plead out, or do you have to assume that it will go to trial?
We assume that it'll go to trial.
You asked her, was she sound mind during this time? Do you remember what her response was in that?
She said that, well, I can't remember right after that, but she referenced the reason why she was doing what she was doing to Al was to make him come back to her in the relationship, basically.
In that particular call, or I'm sorry, in that particular portion of the interview, it's at 15 minutes exactly when you ask about, were you sound mind? And she says, right.
Yes.
And then she goes into that description of taking care of the kids. Does this start to build in your mind when we talk about that pattern of behavior and then that pathway to violence that you talked about? I haven't gotten to the question yet.
I was going to say, let's get all the way to the end of the first, and then we'll see whether it's leading or not.
Does that information that she's giving you there build into that grievance portion of that pathway to violence?
Yes.
In what way?
She was articulating that in her mind, she felt like she was a good mother and she was a good caretaker for Gannon, and that she had over the phone calls expressed multiple grievances. And we actually addressed that later on in the interview when we go through her phone searches. We go into more of the grievance portion later, but just that she brought up her being the caretaker initially is something that we addressed later on in the interview.
Yeah. Do you remember asking her about what kind of dad Al is to Gannon?
I don't at this
Okay.
point.
Well, let's jump to that portion of the interview starting at 15 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm actually going to jump to 15 minutes and 49 seconds, and we'll play it to 17 minutes and 10 seconds.
Like I've had to step in and protect them a lot, so many times.
What kind of dad would you say Al was to Gannon or is to Gannon?
Oh, he's a good dad. Like, I mean, as far as like being like there for him and like, you know, how can I say it? Like, if he says, "Hey, I want to go do something," Albert works a lot, so he's tired and his hours are like kind of, you know, up in the air here and there. But for the most part, he like is always trying to make sure he put, you know, like the kids, military first, and always will be, and that's the mindset. And then
Did you go into the marriage knowing
the
that?
kids.
That military
Well,
was first?
I grew up like knowing that my stepdad was here. Actually, that's why I was looking at that guy's name. But my stepdad was here. So I lived on. So, like, I maybe didn't understand it from parent perspective. I mean, I'm sorry, spouse perspective, like my mom's perspective.
Right.
But I did understand it from like a child perspective. But the thing about it was, is Albert didn't have to like go be deployed or anything like that. It was mostly like work through the night type thing. So it was like we were blessed in that way of not having have to see him go overseas or something like that.
Right.
So, when you're asking her about how Al is to Gannon as a father, she references that she grew up as a military child as well.
Correct.
She mentions her stepdad. At any point, either during the phone calls or up to this point in the interview, did she ever mention any abuse by stepdad?
She did not.
In that last section that we heard where you're asking her about being in sound mind, she mentioned having anxiety and taking lorazepam. Did she mention anything during that section of this interview about having any severe mental health disorders or diseases?
No.
Did she ever mention being in treatment for extended periods of time for any mental health issues?
No.
Did she ever mention losing consciousness and not showing up someplace else that she didn't recognize?
No.
Did you go over family history with her during this interview?
Yes.
So let's watch that next, and it's essentially 17 minutes and 12 seconds to 21 minutes and 20 seconds.
You guys have been married 6 years, 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. And you came to the marriage with Carly,
Right.
and Elaine is the youngest.
Right. And then we had like maybe I think 4 or 5 went to like kind of midterm miscarriages because we always try to like have kids. And I don't know, like something must have happened. Like when I get to a certain point, it would have been a lot more kids.
Right.
But yeah.
Do you think Al was faithful to you? Was he cheating on you?
I don't like. We never had like any conversation until like, of course, now, like recently. But like prior to that, we never had like like buses or it might be something like Albert's type of person. When he got work, he just liked to come home. He wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go do this with people. He just wasn't. That was the good part because he wasn't. You know, like not saying you can't. Like I'm sure you might say if a football game's on, you know, watch it with your friends.
Right.
Usually, for the most part, we do it together, do something together. But it was never really like having our own people that we did things with. But we never like had issues of anything like that. Most of the time, the issues that we always had was I never wanted the kids to ever come back here. A lot of times they were their break, and we would get. But he would always say, "Well, I have to. I'm obligated."
So you don't think he was cheating on you prior to this whole thing going on with Canada? Or did you suspect? Or...
That Albert was cheating?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, there's been times in the past where I saw that he's talked to other women, you know, like on messages and things like that. But then he's also like, you guys have my phone. In the past, he would have saw that he's always apologized for like
Were you guys considering divorce or no? You and Albert?
I didn't know anything about any kind of divorce. Like I know, like we've used the term loosely, you know, because there was a lot of stress having to deal with like situation with Landon. It was a lot of stress because like we fought so hard and so long to get kids to like a safe, you know, situation. So it was very hard to like, you've read someone and they're so emotionally like upset about the kids not being with us and we not being able to protect them that it was kind of hard. It took a lot, you know, toll throughout that time frame of like Alaska, I'm sure, time in Alaska. So during that time in Alaska and stuff, it was very hard to like have to see him be so upset from so many miles away. You know, we get calls that kids didn't have a place to stay. We get calls that there were guns in the back of their car and people were being arrested. And, you know, so that took its toll in the terms of like figuring we should not have to like go through these things. But then once like we got to Colorado, you know, we all could be in like one place. And then it was like kind of, first it was like kind of hard because we've been, you know, back and forth to Alaska for so long. Because, you know, if you know the background, I had the kids here for their school year for Gannon and Lena. So it was Lena was the first grade year and Gannon fourth grade year. Yeah. So they would have went to school here. So I had them here with us then. Still with that, it was like being apart, going back and forth, traveling on holidays, things like that. So that would have been the most. You know, just by the time, like, so when we got to Colorado, it was just like, okay, we're here. You know, we are together. And we said stupid things to each other. Like, but like the things that we could do to be like, okay, we'll forget all this. Or if you do this, we'll do it and forget all this.
Right.
But it's stupid, silly stuff.
So it's paused at 21:20. And before I jump into these next questions, just noticing the time, do you want me to go to about 10:30 and then?
It's up to you. I was actually just going to say whenever you could find a break in the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Okay, sounds good. This particular section, Mr. Grusing, was she able to recount details over this 5-year period that her and Mr. Stauch had been together?
Yes.
Did she indicate any trouble on remembering these details?
No.
Did she also even give you recounting silly arguments that they would have, that kind of thing?
Yes, she did.
Did that indicate to you that she appeared to be able to recall things fairly easily?
Yes.
Do you remember talking with her about where she starts talking about people are being upset and she uses the words hard part, this is the hard part?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and watch that section. And this is from 23:45 to 25:51. I'm actually going to start at 23:35 and then we'll go to 25:51.
From a distance going through that, because I still deal with dads 14 years later who are looking for their daughters at bus stops and malls and whatever. So,
and see, that's the hard part is like people are like, you know, being upset, and I'm like, I haven't had the opportunity to like even just sit down and be like, okay, well, this is, I've given my life to take care of these children. I have. They shouldn't. You know, and I've done that. And it's so hard because inside that, I don't get to express that emotion to have that, you know, to say to anyone, anything like that. And that's the most difficult part because I've had to just be like, how can I make the situation back, you know, like, let's be honest.
I'm John, by the way.
John.
Yeah.
I mean, like Albert was talking about, and again, whether you make mistakes or not. I mean, literally, woke up on Christmas. I always make it about the kids on Christmas because they don't get to spend Christmas with them. So, like, if they went home for the holidays, you know, they might leave, you know, 2 weeks out. We might not see them until, you know, January. So, I always spent my time trying to make sure every time, I didn't believe in certain holidays, I did Halloween, but to make sure every holiday was like revolved around the situation. So, if you look at the situation, when, we have every house and cars and we have whatever. So I work my entire life in education.
Mhm.
So to me, it's like everything I work so hard for, everything I work, whether it's in the military or, service and things like that, no matter how much we had did on that, it took us everything to get to
Right.
and that was where we were at in our safe spot. So for a person who can, take care of everyone and do everything for everyone, and then just cannot do it for a split second, that's the hardest part.
Mhm.
Knowing that this is an image getting set on me, all these horrible things, all these things that are just not true.
Well, that's what we'd like to get to
And
today.
that's
And so, Mr. Grusing, where she's talking about, I've given my life to take care of these kids, is this building more on that grievance portion that we talked about earlier?
Yes, I was asking her about, well, I was talking to her about when kids go missing, how hard it is on parents, families, society, et cetera. And then she, talked about herself again, and then what she tried to do to be a mom. And yeah, I would see that as, and then she went from there to holidays, so she wasn't going where I would like her to go to see the gravity of us looking for an 11-year-old child.
Is that another indication of trying to distract away from the main focus of what this investigation was about?
Yes.
Judge, this might be a good time. The next section is about 13 minutes long.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a morning break. If I can have everyone back in the jury room at, say, 10:45, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do your own investigation about any aspect of the case. With that, we'll see you all back at 10:45. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Mr. Grusing, you can go ahead and step down if you would like. I just want to alert council, I think this afternoon, at some time, we can either do it before we start the afternoon session or towards the end of the day. I would like to go through, because I think we're paramount into the evidence. I want to go through and compare admitted evidence exhibits, make sure that we all have the same ones. And then that way, if there's something that is amiss, you can think about it over the weekend and we can figure out some sort of solution. But with that, we'll see everybody at 10:45.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
That's what we want. There we go. Now, little mozzarella cheese, like this. Go ahead and spread it kind of all the way across. Of course, we need some pepperonis, so we're going to top it off like this. Spread them out. There we go. Now, these are epic loaded fries. There we go. to the oven. Right here. Nice and melty, and the fries hot, hot, hot. Be right back to pick it up, grab these, and move over this way. We got these beautiful, beautiful dinner rolls, and there's butter that is just amazing. We got roasted tomatoes, of course, garlic, some red chili flakes. Put these on here. Come through with the bottoms. Careful not to break it. Look at that. Nice. And here we go. We're going to get this left over here and pour just a little bit here and a little bit here. Come through with the brush quickly. And there we go. And flip this. Beautiful. I'll let that carefully grill just a bit. Toast them. Should be perfect, y'all. Whoa, whoa. And here we go. Place it over here gently. Little bit of sauce with my little ladle. Some marinara. Spread it just a bit over here. We're going to come through with a little parmesan. This. Beautiful buttered onions. Mix it around. We got some bell peppers and, of course, mushrooms. A little mix. Look at that. Grab it. Fries. And spread them on. Like this. Here we go. We're going to save some for the side. And here we come with the best part. All we have to do now is enjoy. Like this. Like this. Sliders are sliding all the way. And here we go.
Homemade bechamel, and this is our homemade pizza dough. I'm gonna start folding in, pushing out, folding in, pushing out, and just continue this process. Go back around, press the crust into the bottom of it. We're gonna squeeze and make little divots. Take your pair of scissors, get them straight down, and we're going to cut one on the outside, one on the inside. Outside and finished. From here, just going to open it up because you want to see that wonderful cheddar bechamel. Now I have my tomato sauce. We're just going to spread this out. You don't want too much. Go to the corners. And of course, you got to add some mozzarella. Add a little Parmesan. So now it's on to the next step. I have some pepperoni here. Take a cookie cutter, push down into the pepperoni. And we're just going to repeat the process. I'm going to take my next little stack of pepperonis. I'm going to go around it and just press down. I'm going to do this 3 times. I'm going to take some shredded pieces of our pepperoni. Now I'm going to take a little baby bell. Place that right in the center, and then I got 2 that I cut already. I'm gonna place that here. Looks like get a little flower party. It's time to put everything together. We got our pizza on our pizza stone. Our grill is hot. We'll put that right on top. Now it's time to close and cook. All right, so let's see this thing. Wow, does that not look absolutely incredible? Adding that little bit of greenery.
Glaze it. Beautiful. We're going to follow through with a little reduced balsamic vinegar straight from Modena, home of Ferrari. So like this. And we're going to top this off with a little yellow mustard. Like that. Give it a little mix. Get all those flavors in the meat. Beautiful. Get the bottom part done too. Come through with a little mix of garlic, salt, black pepper, and paprika. Put it on there so we can get the bottom. Just like that. Finish it off with a dash of oregano. Why? Because this is going to be out of this world, full of flavor. Bring it on here. Shiny side inside. That way it keeps the heat in. We wrap it up nice and tight. And we go straight to the oven. $275, 2.5 hours. And then we're going to visit it. World's first ever pizza oven ribs. Can't get any better. You got best of both worlds all in one. Ooh, that's hot. Be right back to pick it up. This is nice and ready. It smells like it should. Piece of heaven right here. But, woo. See this? Ha. Wow, this smells even better than I expected. Let's go here. Like this. Nice and easy. Just slide it in and slide it out. Go. Making some space for the flavor. Cheddar cheese. Perfect. Come over here. Look at these. Baby, it's time to dig in. Like that. Oh, it's coming apart all by itself. Let's go easily. Golly. Look at that. Hot. Nice and juicy. Let's go in here. Make a little space. And we put it inside. Stuff it in there. Beautifully delicious. Grab this. Bring it over here. Got a little butter here. And we're going to place it here. Go like this. And we want all our edges to be nice and toasty with some butter. Because butter makes everything better. Go. And we flip it. Cool. There we go. Now comes the fun part. We're going to make individual pieces, individual slices for every one. There we go. Nice. Go ahead and do this. Butter them up. Beautiful. And now we're going to flip them. Like this. Check this out. Woo. Put that back in there. And we top it off, baby, with some marinara sauce. Little cheese, mozzarella, little pepperonis here and there, and a little more cheese to finish it off. So just like that. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab these guys. Like this. Right here. Let's make some space, slide them in. We're off to the oven. Real quick. Let's get this nice and melty. Ooh, what? Grab one. Bring it over here, baby. This is bona fide. Oh boy. Baby, tell me you've seen that before. Go with a little honey, yeah, little honey. Just a bit. No chives for my taste. Baby, look at that. Boy. Beautiful. Guys, enjoy. You can find this recipe at chefclub.tv. Grab 4 butters, just like that. Wow. Come this way. Slide them off. And got some garlic, little olive oil, and of course, rosemary. Now we're going to the oven. Into the oven we go. We'll be back in 1 hour. Into our garlic confit, butter, rosemary, olive oil, you know, all that good stuff. Let's give it a little twist, a little turn. Get it in there. All those flavors are beautiful. It smells delicious. Give it a little twist and we're out. Got that rosemary on there too. Beautiful. This way. Go ahead and place it on our tray. Beautiful. Come through with some garlic. Little here. Little here. And we're going to go ahead and spread it. Like that. Get on there. Beautiful. And we move on over here. Get that nice and open. Press down. Spread it on there like butter. Just like that. Get it everywhere. And come through with some cheese. And right before the cheese, got some onions. Place them on here. It's going to flavor our meat in a delicious way. Cheese. And cheese. Give that a little cut so it don't break on us when we close it, because we're about to close it. Just like this. And you know what's next. A little salt and pepper. And we're off to the grill. This way. Nice and hot. And we're going to go right here, y'all. Check this out. Hot grill. Beautiful steak. Boom. Ooh, baby. This smells ready. Check it out. You can see the cheese nice and perfect. Ay, ay, ay. Great. Now, get yourself a little butter. Salt and pepper for the other side. Place this right there. Bring them into this beauty. Yes, sir. Right here. And baby, should be ready. Woo! Wow. Look at that. Amazing. Can you get that at a restaurant? No. You can only get it at chefclub.tv. Let's move on. This way. We are back. Check this out. Perfect. Let's go with this one. We'll work on my buddies the next time. Wow. Have you ever seen a burger like this? No, you haven't. Wow. What else do you want? Yes, sir. Get a little bit of this. Put it right with it. Let's take a little bite. Wow. Can you eat this on your own? Let me know. We are going to butter this grill up. Get some beautiful thinly sliced onions. We're going to place our meat patties here. You can see it has a nice amount of fat. You're looking at about 80-20 here. Get yourself some nice salt. and smash these. Now we give these a little flip. Keep your onions on there. What is next? The cheese, of course. We go like this. After that, some delicious bacon. Grab our last patties, place them here, get ourselves some beautiful butter. We drop a piece of butter for each bun that we will be using. Grab that butter, bring it over. Let's form this nice circle. With these buns that are overlapping, come over here, butter. There we go, give it a little press. Get yourself some parchment paper. Cover it. One more. And after that, with the rolling pin, slowly, gently press this. Roll it all the way out, and then come back. All right, now buns are nice and flat. Remove that. And grab them. Give them a flip. Try not to break your pattern. Perfect. Grab that. Get yourself some burger sauce. Spread it on there. Cannot forget the cheese. There we go. Get yourself some lettuce, shredded lettuce. We are using iceberg here, our favorite, nice and crunchy. So now, carefully, we will put this to the side, just in the meantime. And now it's time for assembly. So we grab our first patty twin, place it right there, just like that. Beautiful. It's here, and some fresh pickles and tomatoes. Close it up and tight. Get yourself some fries. Don't forget the fries. And now all you gotta do is enjoy. Grip is back and it's better than ever.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to bring a matter up
Go ahead.
with respect to the agent time now.
Agent Grusing.
Yes,
Okay.
but he's testified that he's essentially an FBI profiler. That he's got a lot of experience with that. He's been an agent for a long time. He's mentioned lots of cases. He compares. A very experienced FBI profiler. Your Honor, under People v. Stewart, Colorado Supreme Court, I would object to any senescence or tantamount to the agent. We're talking about language of, oh, well, these are grievances that lead to the pathway to violence and stuff like this. This is expert testimony, and this testimony was, or this information that is being used in this testimony was gained by being an FBI profiler. And, regular people, lay people, this isn't a lay opinion. They don't go around talking about pathways to violence in this grievance language that leads to pathways to violence. This is information and testimony that comes from, and it's directly from being a longtime FBO high profile. This, we have to speak in expert reports about this FBI profiling material. It's not endorsed as an expert. If we had known that this testimony was going to include this expert FBI profiling type testimony, we would have done a Shrek hearing. There's, a lot of information out there in other reports that, talk about some of the problems with profiling in general, that it has a lot of holes in it. There could be a lot of problems with that. So based on that, I know he's got a lot of good, relevant information to testify to for the people. But them trying to elicit this pathways to violence and grievances leading to this and, this other information, I think is wrong. I think it's moreover, we want expert information and testimony and opinion.
Okay, so in summary, what I understand is that, first of all, do you have a citation on Stewart?
I do. Oh.
And while you're looking for that, as I understand it, the summary essentially of the argument is that Mr. Grusing was not endorsed to testify as an expert, has not provided any expert reports regarding the pathway to violence, which he has referenced. Is that accurate?
And I could clarify one thing, Your Honor.
Okay.
He actually was endorsed as an expert.
He was endorsed.
He was endorsed as an expert. I have filed a motion for expert disclosure for support granted. I asked for a summary of their opinions on the basis for them. We were then told that all of the opinions of the expert were provided in the reports. Nowhere in this agent's reports does he mention anything about FBI profiling or that this was a pathway of violence, that this was grievances or any of this type of information. It's not disclosed in any of his reports. And so we specifically asked for that so we could be prepared for expert testimony to rebut some of this type of information. And we're told that any type of information provided in reports.
Okay, so now I understand that he was endorsed as an expert.
Yes.
I'm
But
sorry, Your Honor, I misspoke.
But this information was not provided in his expert report.
We didn't get an expert report. All we have is this FBI, the reports like every other agent gave. And we have no report. We have a CV from him, but nothing in any of his reports that he was going to give in this type of opinion testimony.
Mr. Allen?
And Your Honor, just while I have it up in front of me,
Yes.
it's the Colorado Supreme Court, as I said, and 55 P3rd 107.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
So Judge, he was endorsed as an expert, obviously didn't move to have him qualified as an expert. In discovery, we released his CV, which starts on page 45-0168. It's a 24-page CV, which might be the longest CV that I've released in discovery, but it's got extensive information about his background and training and things that he's done, including things with BAU, talking about serial killers, all that kind of stuff, school shooters, Scott Kimball investigation. And the basis of his testimony has been, and my intention is to continue to have him testify as to his experience and training and how he is using that in this interview to gain information from this defendant to continue on with this particular interview. That's been the entire basis of these types of questions. And a grievance is just really somebody feeling like they have a grievance. That's all that is. There's no specialized training for that necessarily. If somebody is complaining about something, people understand that to be, they think that there's a grievance that they have. We're not asking for expert testimony. Didn't qualify him as an expert, went through his background because that is important. It does inform how he does this interview. And I would ask the court to, well, one, I'm not sure exactly what the objection is from defense because we've had both attorneys talking about it. And it's been different statements from both of the defense attorneys. And so just allow us to continue to go through his direct examination.
And I will clarify exactly what my objection is.
Okay.
To the degree he is testifying as a lay expert, his opinion based upon his training and experience is banned by people from Stewart. To the degree that they want to qualify him as an expert, we have a violation of the course order regarding experts.
Okay. All right. Is Agent Grusing, he is back there. Okay,
Yeah, he's
good.
back.
Here's how I see this. I did enter an order that required that if the witness were going to provide expert testimony, that a report regarding that expert's testimony needed to be provided so that it could be disclosed. I understand that Mr. Grusing has been endorsed as an expert. He's not been offered as an expert at this point in time, but he's been endorsed as an expert. It's not clear to me. It appears to me that Agent Grusing did offer some, or he's mentioned in the reports, or he has some reports, but apparently does not have or did not disclose the opinions that the defense is requesting. What I would order is, I think that Agent Grusing needs to stay away from the phrase pathway to violence. I think he can testify as to why he was directing the interrogation in certain manners. I think the issue of him saying, well, I wanted to keep her talking, I don't really know that that's any different than anybody else, frankly, that's testified here. I was telling her this because I was hoping that I would get her talking. At one point, I think it was in the video. I don't think it was independent testimony from Agent Grusing, so I think it was in the video. At one point, he mentioned something about the Dylan Redwine case, but I think that was in the video, and he was trying to get the defendant talking about that and trying to explain his experience. I think all of those are appropriate. I think it's appropriate for the for Agent Grusing to say, to an extent, this is what I was trying to get her to do. I think it is inappropriate for Agent Grusing, and Agent Grusing would be prohibited from saying, for instance, in this case, well, I was doing this investigation, and because of a technique that I learned in the Dylan Redwine case, this is what I was trying to do here, because I think at that point, a jury could conceive that he, based on his education, experience, and training, is equating Ms. Stauch with Mark Redwine, and that does not appear to be the case here. So I think that there are things that he can talk about. I've not heard him say that, even though he is a profiler, I've not yet heard any testimony that he developed a specific profile about the defendant, that she had certain characteristics or certain traits which would be consistent with, for instance, a serial killer or something like that. I've not heard any of that. I remember we got an objection about that, and Mr. Allen assured me that we were not going there. We have not gone there. So I think that he can say, I was trying to get her to talk. I was trying to get her, and my hope was that so long as we didn't directly, I'm not sure it was Agent Grusing, but somebody at some point in time said, so long as we did not directly accuse her of murdering Gannon, we thought we could keep her talking. I think that's appropriate. So far, I have not seen anything from Agent Grusing's testimony that is outside the parameters that I've already mentioned. So while the objection is there, at this point in time, it's overruled. If it becomes more prevalent, or you think you need to lodge an objection, you can and ask to approach, and I'll deal with it then.
And the only other thing that we just do at this point in time too is we are objecting to this agent giving an opinion regarding her sanity under Rule 403. And the reason being is we've had a lot of, he went in for quite a length about his training as an FBI profiler, as his experience with serial killers, all of this kind of stuff. And I think because we've had all of that under 403, I think the jury would give more weight based upon his training and experience. And I don't think under 403 that's cured even by saying in your lay opinion, because I don't know how you take out 20 plus years of FBI profiling to give a lay opinion on this. We've had a plethora of lay witnesses testify that it's their sanity. This witness, because of the background that was given at the beginning of his testimony, I just think under 403, I'd ask support for you.
I'm going to require, Mr. Allen, that you not ask that question until we get to the end of the testimony, and then we can take it up then. I want to see what other foundation is laid at that point in time regarding his contacts with Ms. Stauch. It appears it's primarily this video.
Well, no, that's not accurate, Judge. If we're saying contacts, we've got a plethora of recorded phone calls. We've admitted 16 of them, but there's even more than that we didn't decide to admit. As you know, there's some that are over an hour long. There's some that are shorter in length. We're talking with this interview, which is almost 5 hours long, plus all of these others, that it's, as far as law enforcement investigators, some of the longest contact with this defendant of anybody.
Okay. I want to wait until I get to the end of
Yeah.
direct. And before you ask that question, ask to approach, and then we'll see where we are there. I think I understand the issue from the defense is not so much contact as it is because of this witness's background and expertise. They may give more weight to his opinion than they would to just a lay opinion. So,
Yeah. No, I understand that as well, Judge. I think that if we are making that sort of decision, and we can talk about this again later, but if we're making that sort of decision that based on we're guessing that the jury is going to give a particular witness more credibility or less credibility, I think we're invading the province of the jury. They get to understand and make those decisions in private in their deliberations, and we should not invade that. And I think case law is very clear about that.
All right.
One last thing, Judge, just so that the record's clear on the prior cases, examples that Mr. Grusing gives during the pendency of this interview and that sort of thing. You notice I haven't asked any questions about serial killers or anything like that, trying to draw parallels. I'm not even asking about prior cases, even though it's prevalent in this particular interview. If there were concerns from the defense about those issues and topics coming up in this interview's been out in discovery for, years. This is the first time we're hearing about it in the midst of trial, in the midst of testimony from Mr. Grusing. And I just think it's improper to do it now under these conditions when there was plenty of opportunity to do it prior to, with the caveat that obviously I'm not drawing special attention to these issues. It's just going to continue to flow in this interview.
Okay. Mr.
I'm not objecting. The fact that he mentioned red wine in the interview is not the source of my objection. It appears to me that he's inferring some traits as far as a serial killer, saying like the grievances lead to the pathway to violence, to lead to somebody committing these type of horrible acts. That's the kind of opinion testimony that we're objecting. That I'm noticing she had these grievances, and that would then be a motive for her to commit this type of violent act based upon the training and experience. And it's not all the way there, but to me, it's getting pretty close when we're talking about grievances lead to the pathway to violence. And that's specific one, and we were unaware of it until this point in time. The stuff in the interview technique, that's fine. And the stuff I need to keep her talking, that's fine. It's the stuff that's, I noticed this, I've seen this in other people, and it seems like she was leading up to this type of thing. That's the specific thing that we're.
Okay. All right. I think we've all made the argument. I've given us a pathway forward, and that's where we will go. Agent Grusing, do you have any questions about the parameters that I expect?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Are we ready to bring in the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense? Anything else? Okay. Let's go ahead and bring
Do you want Mr. Grusing back on the stand?
Yes, please. Agent, Special Agent Grusing, or I'm sorry, it's now Mr. Grusing, if you would.
Only
resume-
Mr. Grusing.
If you would resume your feet on the witness stand. I remind you that you're still under oath. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Leticia Stauch. Record should reflect. With that, Mr. Allen.
Judge, we just need the screen back on.
Right.
So, Mr. Grusing, in this next section that we're going to watch, which is 25 minutes and 55 seconds through 38 minutes and 28 seconds, you discuss victimology. Just so that the jury understands what victimology is, will you explain that?
It's just simply the study of the victim. So for someone like Gannon, we just try to find out as much as we can about him to maybe lead us to what happened to him.
Okay. We'll start that now at 25:55.
But first, let's go to Gannon, because what we do is called victimology. Have you heard of that before?
Sure.
So victimology is we find out as much as we can about Gannon, the victim.
Okay.
And even if he's safe somewhere, even if he's not, knowing more about him, especially since you were the last person with him, helps us to try to figure out, like, say we don't have a suspect, somebody killed, but we have nothing.
Okay.
Then we will look at that person to see what drew that homicide there. Why did those two people interact at that time?
Okay.
And then we'll also do things like it's the subject, the situation, and the location. So something happened. Gannon's here. You have someone or something that did him harm, and then you have why the location.
Okay.
So we have those three things. And, we've looked through your house and, done the CFI stuff and looked at all the, body fluids all over the house and garage and whatever else. So that's all been done. I'm curious to see your challenges of Gannon here when you had to be a parent, and then there. Challenges, successes, whatever else. What special attention did he need? What can you tell me about him?
Well, here he was younger, mature a little bit, hitting towards, like 6th grade.
Uh-huh.
So like here he was more so of like, let's see, like at that time and situation here. Okay, so prior to that, we never got to see him except like every other weekend for the longest time.
Okay.
Right. All right. So then when Albert, we finally paid all the money and got the or whatever. Albert had to choose between getting out of the military or the kids in a way, kind of, because mom wasn't given any or whatever. So then that's when we step in and say, we're going to keep them here in our home here, and I'll stay here with them. And then, we'll go from there.
Right.
So then that time, he also didn't get to see his mom. Aisha didn't have a place to live. Aisha also, she had a baby, but then mainly to her, I'm not going to trash her. I'm going to say she was married to someone who didn't take care of, who wouldn't take care of them like they should, with her being pregnant in that situation. So with mom not having that foundation support, she wasn't able to come to the house a lot. And when she did come to the house, there's time she came that she was like, she just wasn't in a good place. So I let her stay at her home. And Gannon had a tough time every time because in his mind, he just wanted to be like a stepsister.
What? His stepsister?
Yeah.
You mean Harley?
No.
Landon's?
Yeah. No,
I don't.
Mia. Mike Starter.
Got it.
Mike, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he wanted it to be like Mike Starter, which was they go to the dad's house for a week.
Right.
So
Got it.
that was Gannon's mindset when he was here. Grandparents, amazing people, which is Landon's family. Amazing people, Grandma, I think Nana and Poppy. great people. They would always come get them on weekends and things like that, so that I'd have time to, like, do whatever I needed to do, or if I wanted to go shopping or go hang out with people, whatever. So we had all that, going on here. The missing piece was, Albert had, the record check.
Yep.
Gannon would do his schoolwork, very smart. I think he made all A's here in 4th grade. I'm pretty sure he made all A's here. So made all A's here, didn't have like an issue at all.
What was he like when he got home from school? Because Albert's out, you're having to take care of him.
Well, to be honest with you, I got him from after school, which was about like 5:30ish. So by the time we did homework, and all those things, it was almost time to like get ready for bed.
Are you doing his homework with him? Is he doing it on
Right.
his own? What?
See, the difference between schools, and I'm not trying to talk about Colorado if you're from Colorado, the difference between Colorado and South Carolina schools was South Carolina did a lot more with like history and those type of things, where Colorado thought it was relevant reading.
Mhm.
So he did struggle with history, so we had to sit at the table a lot of times and like really work on like do the mathematics. So like his dad. Gannon is just like his dad. He is so mathematically inclined, like an engineer type brain. So when it came to like, history and
Right.
reading science stuff, unless it was something like he didn't like. So we spent hours sometimes, working on those things. But with knowing the curriculum, it was easy for me because I already knew. And so by the time we did that, it was time for him to go to bed. Yada, yada, yada. So that was.
That's here. So,
yeah.
then what about in Colorado?
So,
is that different?
Well, when we get to Colorado, of course, I start them in school, which would have been August. Okay. So I start them in school. It was a big help because Gannon is at this point a little bit more mature. He knows he stayed with us. Because see, I took him to Alaska and homeschooled him before we got to Colorado. I homeschooled him for those 2 months. And then we transitioned into Colorado. Actually, it wasn't August. I'm sorry, I told you the story. It was that January that we got here because I homeschooled him November, December, not of this past time, but of the year
Got
before.
it. Okay.
Sorry.
So January 2019.
Yes, so I homeschooled him 2018, November, Christmas time, because mom couldn't get him then
Mhm.
for whatever reason. Then we came on to, but I think she ended up getting him, and she flew them back to Colorado for a week or something. She got him for a week maybe. Flew them back to Colorado. So January 2019, we would have started school in Colorado.
Okay.
Right, so get them in school, which Colorado, I think it was like middle May, they would go to Colorado.
Right.
So January, February, March, April. Okay, so it was pretty simple in the terms of we would do like, he never had homework in Colorado for some reason. So it was always Albert would be like, make them write their labs or, it was time for them to go to summer.
What time did you normally get home from school?
Well, around that time, he went to another school because this new school wasn't built.
Okay.
So it would have been like 3:45, 4 o'clock, maybe, just because it happened to come from across town.
Mhm.
And then let's see, fall. Yeah, so they came back in August. So we went on, Gannon went with us on a big cruise in the summer because he didn't want to go home. Right away, we gave him a choice. You want to go on a family cruise or you want to go, to, he said he wanted to go on a cruise. So I went on a big family cruise, Dominican, and I forgot a couple of stuff. So it was just me, him, Harley, and Albert. So it was just the 4 of us, and Lena didn't go. So we all went on this family cruise and had a great time, whatever. And then, of course, they come here for the summer, and then they get ready to come back for fall. So they come back for fall, and at this point in time, I was working. Albert was doing like the shift, like 3-2.
You had your teaching job and
yeah, 3-2, 3-2. He was working and all these things.
Okay.
Well, Harley was working, I think, and starting Pike Peak College. So we were all pretty busy, like throughout the day, and then in the evening it was kind of like come in, grab this. But then I was coaching. So as I was,
what were you coaching?
Softball. So as I was
at your school,
at the high school.
At the high school.
So as I was coaching softball, I probably didn't get home sometimes till like 5:30, maybe sometimes later, just depending on if it was a game or practice or something like that. So honestly, a lot of the help had to come from either Harley doing a lot of it, if Albert was working, or Gannon had to independently, do a lot of it himself.
How did he get home?
Which we were teaching. At this point in time, they were in the new school.
Right.
So the new school, because we lived 1.5 miles out, the new school allowed him to take it. If not, they had the rest of the way they had it.
Okay.
So, coaching was over, you know, probably around, it's weird because they do softball free, not free. So coaching was over maybe around October, November. You know, Gannon started having a hard time because he didn't want to go home for Thanksgiving. When I tell you Gannon, he loves his Nana. Like that's his. If it was up to him, he'll be at Nana's house all the time because he loves Nana. So he like wanted to go because he has two little boy cousins. If you know, Gannon has 4 sisters and he doesn't have any brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So he. In his way, those 2 little boys are his brothers.
Okay.
So if he goes to Nana's house, you know, he can spend a lot of time with his little cousins. And then they can all just hang out. He didn't get to go for Thanksgiving. Albert had to work. So we I don't really cook. We've always like eating out whenever it's my turn. So I just said, hey, listen, you know, we'll go out to dinner. We did all this Thanksgiving, tried to make it up the best that I could because I'm not his mom, but he wanted to be there with the family, you know, because the holidays and that's what he used to. And then of course Christmas came around and same thing kind of happened at Christmas, but then we worked it out and we figured out a plan to get him home for Christmas. They would be
We went to Nana's for Christmas.
spend time with the family, yeah, because mom never had a house. So Albert said it's okay if they go and then they have to get me. And that was our biggest worry. Like, have you ever been here before today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like if you like look on the boulevard and things like that, there's a lot of like not the best places, and that was where they were staying at one point. You know, when they would come, and so that was why they were like, no.
Right. Yeah. So then, is Gannon responsible for taking his own? He has ADHD medicine, right? Does he do that on his own? Do you help him with that?
Most of the time, like how it worked is I got all lunchboxes ready, set them on. We've been in the house with the stove that's in the corner beside the refrigerator. We would set the lunchboxes out, snacks, and let them pick. And he always picked before Lena because he just knew that he could get it. If he beat her up, he could pick the snacks he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he would pick the snacks that he wanted, and I would lay his. If Albert wasn't getting them up, I would lay his ADHD medicine, 5 amps, 20 milligrams. I would lay his 5 amps on. And so
What form is it? Just tablet? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would lay it on the counter, and he would know, you know, come in and take it.
How does he take it? Is it with water?
Yeah. He doesn't even use water half the time.
Okay.
He just
Right.
he's been taking it since he was 5.
Okay.
So.
Is there any other that he's on or no? Like Adderall or anything?
No, I don't know. I think when he was like 5, they like tried one medicine, but the 5 amps worked. That was it. Like that was the one.
Any of the other kids on medication?
Mm-mm.
Harley or
Mm-mm.
no? What about you or Al?
I don't know anything other than when I told you about lorazepam. But see, the thing about lorazepam was they might give it to me and I might not get it again. You know, 30 tablets, but it was only for like panic attacks or things like that. As far as Albert, I know he has the gout, so I know I'm sure it's nothing that.
But nothing that he could Gannon could mix up medications with or whatever. Like somebody else's meds or anything.
Not that I'm worried. Now there's stuff in the counter from like probably old stuff or like, you know, like Harley had her wisdom teeth taken out. I think Albert did, but I'm pretty sure he might have been smart to get rid of that stuff. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But none of us had like any like anything like that.
So in that particular recounting of you lead into asking challenges with Gannon. Again, from your perspective, did she appear to be able to recount things and have strong memory recall ability?
Yeah, she walked us through his childhood, South Carolina, Alaska, Colorado, when he got home from school, what courses he did well in, what courses he struggled in. So, yes.
Did it sound like fairly normal family life?
It did.
Did you ask about bath salts and the hike from Sunday, January 26th?
Yes.
So let's jump to that section. It's going to be from this point up to 4330.
I'm asking you that because of the bath salt deal that he came up with. You know, that was on the hike day, wasn't
Okay,
it?
so the bath salt thing was just totally because they did this drug class, which is the same class that my degree did too. And it's where these people came in and they dressed up in like, I say dressed, they were professionals. They are medical professionals. They dressed in their outfits and all those things. And they let the kids like pretend they were working on, what do we call it? You know, like as if they were doing CPR and all that. And
Yeah.
during that time frame, they went over all these different drugs. So they talked about what your life is on crack. They talked about like all these, like it was very, very like in depth for fifth grade. But at the same time, you got to think it was probably a good thing to.
So was Gannon telling you about this, or did you find out from a teacher, or how did you find out they had this in-depth conversation?
Well, I knew because they did it at our school first. So they did it
I got it.
They did our school first. So it was something once they found out they did our school and they saw like all the cool pictures and things like that, other teachers wanted to know about it. So when the other teachers wanted to know about it, they, went around different schools and they signed like, I think Albert signed a permission slip or maybe sent an email to the teacher or whatever, that it was okay for him to do.
So was Gannon fascinated with the bath salt thing, or how did that conversation happen? Because I know that seemed to be important, during the hike and afterwards and whatever.
Well, it was like, okay, so my parents would deliver these, and we never knew what they were. Say we were told meat, we were told whatever. We don't know. But Albert would always talk to Gannon about anytime people had anything, like drugs and things of that sort. He would always say, like, these are bad people, things like this is bad things. So
Right.
Gannon already had like some sort of base foundation, and because he had like that sort of base foundation, he always had like questions because like
Right.
that was always the thing, because he was one. Is Baby Nova gonna be? Is Baby Nova gonna be? And that was like his main concern, was wanting to know these things because he was just curious of how, like, all.
So were you guys on the hike when he brought it up, or where were
He
you?
had already brought it up prior to the hike.
Okay.
He had already said something when he came home after this.
Was it a concern for you? Tell me what he said and how your conversation
I don't
went.
honestly, sir, I don't remember. I just remember he was telling us about the different things that they were talking about. And then I was like, oh, did you guys do this? And they would be like, yeah, I don't know. What would they do? So it was kind of like mimicked the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So we did talk about that a lot.
Was that before hike, you said?
Yeah, leading up to it, before the hike, there was a lot of talk about it, for a little bit. And then, of course, I think he said a few things.
What did he say?
I just remember he was talking to me.
And was it
randomly.
concerning to you?
Like
What he was saying? Like he really wanted to try these things, or what?
Like, I didn't think anything about him wanting to try any of it, do anything with it. I know that he said something about it, and I gave him a bath bomb.
When he said something, what did he say?
He just asked me about, in general, about if we had bath bombs. Because, to be honest with you, he had already pooped how many times?
So he said that after he pooped on the hike?
He pooped a couple of times on the hike.
Yeah.
Like, when I say poop, I don't mean like.
Just a little bit to where it's
Right.
uncomfortable and whatever.
Right. And so it was the whole thing about that folks was just, I think he just wanted to like relax, because he ended up taking 2 baths. So
Now,
I
do
think
you,
he wanted to.
and this, I don't want to be weird, but are you giving him baths? Is he taking them?
No. And then goes by himself, and he's very like helpful, independent. Like I've taught him so many independent skills where he can go in there and just now he'll forget to like bring his clothes up or
Right.
simple things like that. But
Okay. So he takes 2 baths that night, or 1 bath that night, 1 the next morning, or?
I think when we got home, we took one. Me and Lena went to go get food. And then I think he had used the bathroom again. I took another one. I think when me and Lena got back, and then she took one. somehow.
So, Mr. Grusing, in that portion of the interview, we're talking about the hike and bath salts. Again, did she appear to have ability to recall those details as well?
Yes,
Is that markedly different than when you're talking about trying to get details as to what happened to Gannon?
yes.
In what way?
She's comfortable talking, and as you mentioned, she's giving details, and she can clearly remember what was going on, just even from her comfort in talking to me.
And this is from what she's describing here is from the hike that occurred on the afternoon of January 26th of 2020.
Yes,
Did you ask her about what does it look like if her and Gannon argue?
yes.
So let's jump to that section. We're going to jump to just a little bit ahead, 44 minutes and 45 seconds. And we'll play this through 49 minutes and 12 seconds.
So what does an argument look like with Gannon? Have you guys ever argued?
Like maybe like in Myrtle Beach, you know, we would have been like, we're so much alike. So we are so much alike in terms of we both have stomach problems, really. We both have like anxiety, so to speak, you know. And he's so kind and like kind-hearted, and then the point of like we can get upset about something, but then the next minute he'll be like I am. He'll be like, oh, look about something. We'll just say something, or he had tremendously increased the amount in Myrtle Beach. I don't think I ever heard him do it. I love you, or like, you know, like, I mean, like the holiday might come, you know, they just say, oh, stress, something, whatever. But like, since having him all the time, it became more of like, I would hear, I love you, like, all the time, you know. And so I feel like it was
The holiday, the Christmas before? Is that what you're saying? He disappeared?
You what now?
When you said around the holiday, he was saying, I love you?
I'm saying like once we started more and more having, then he and I became a lot closer because of just like wanting to have that connection with both the kids.
Surely you had some arguments with him, though. Did you ever have to discipline him or no?
Well, I never spanked any of the children, never, because I just don't believe in spanking other people's kids. So we never had that. Now, as far as like, okay, you are in trouble, you're going to do this. Yeah, that's any kid with any of them.
What's the biggest disagreement you had with Gannon?
The biggest disagreement. Probably because he doesn't. And again, he probably shouldn't have this on him as a kid, but not like seeing the light. How he couldn't go home. He was so like, you know, kind of like forgiving. It's okay, mommy don't have money. You know, if I said anything like, well, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did, I would be like, well, she quit doing this. She could pay for it. And I would always figure out a way. But then it was like, you know, I'd say, I wanted him to see that.
Was this a certain incident?
Do I know?
The biggest disagreement you had, was this a certain time? Or
No, we never had like big, like there was never any like big all out. Are you, when you say disagreement, like clashes or like screaming, shouting?
I'm a parent, so I've had mine.
You mean
disagreements,
like
yelling at the kid,
like that kind of disagreement, but never not like a.
So what's the most
physical,
upset you've been with Gannon?
Where we've like.
Or you've had to yell, and I've had to yell at my kids.
I got you. I see what you're saying. So like where we've had to like fuss at each other over whether or not he did something. If he did something.
That has to happen if you're a parent.
Right.
I'm judging you.
Saying, I thought you were asking me like.
No, I'm more looking at this from Gannon's point of view. I'm not judging you.
No, I thought you were asking me more of like, you know, like whippings or like switches or like something like that. No.
So what's the most intense time you've had with Gannon, as far as you're yelling, he's yelling, that sort of thing? That has to have happened, especially with that kid.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Or what time do you remember?
Probably times that I don't remember specific times. Like say all revolved around Albert, like not being disciplined,
Well,
disciplined enough.
you know, when Gannon was just doing something that's totally irrational and unreasonable. I have a boy, I know.
Yeah,
They don't behave all the time.
right.
So what did Gannon,
I don't know of any like specifics. I just know that we would have, you know, like if it would have been something that wasn't in what our teachings were, we would have, of course, yelled
so
at
you
each
never
other.
had to yell at him that you remember?
I just said that to you. I said there have been plenty of times.
Yeah, but I mean a specific one.
So, Mr. Grusing, in that portion of the interview, when you're asking about the biggest disagreement that she had with Gannon, she referenced Gannon's mother. Did Gannon's mother and the relationship that Gannon had with his mother become a fairly consistent theme as it relates to her feeling like she wasn't getting credit?
She mentioned that a couple of times, yes.
Okay. And in that particular one, she mentioned that he's very forgiving to his mom, and she being the defendant, wanted Gannon to see that his mom wasn't doing the right things,
Yes,
almost seeming to want to discredit Gannon's own mother
correct.
in Gannon's eyes.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask, or did she eventually give a description of Gannon being in a very upset rage and having some sort of a knife or box cutter?
She did.
All right, let's jump to that section, and we're jumping ahead about a minute, so 50 minutes and 10 seconds. And we're going to play it to 55:32.
Gannon wouldn't like yell back. Gannon would not like yell back and be like, you know, like confrontational. So Gannon would not like. He might say something smart.
How did he react?
Under his breath.
Do you have an incident you remember or no?
No.
And you had to put your foot down and say, Gannon, that's not acceptable.
No, like if I said that, he pretty much listened to what I said.
Yeah.
It was like not. I don't remember him screaming back at me at any
Or just going to his room, slamming the door,
situation.
anything like that.
Slamming the door, room. Me?
Well, no,
Maybe more so me like saying something that Albert might have been more of the if there was slamming doors or anything. Like going back again. Albert, you need to make sure he's not doing this, and then go from there in that situation.
Okay.
Like Albert was teaching him how to use a box cutter and like different things like that. And there were times that I might have been like, "Oh, Albert, I don't think you should have done this because he was acting weird in this way." But that would have been early in the beginning before we started getting him like counseling. But once he started getting, like.
No, remind me the counseling. What was that for?
Do what now?
The counseling?
So Albert said that he should get counseling through the military just for like all the transitions and being like in and out of school and like, all the different things like that, just to make sure that his mental like well-being was fine. And Albert said that anytime he would, of course, counselors can't tell you, what was going on unless it was something, pressing. And of course, Albert would always come out and say that everything's fine. And then Gannon would come back and tell us what he talked about. But as far as like,
Did Gannon ever come at you with a knife or something? Wasn't there an incident?
well, that's what I was just telling you about. There was when I told you Albert was trying to teach him how to use
That's the box cutter
a box
thing?
cutter, yeah. So Gannon had this thing about the knife, and he was doing like this, and whoever told you that it was coming at me, that was not.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah,
I'm getting the real story here.
No. You've got stories from everywhere, and you probably are not looking at me for mine, but that is not what happened. Gannon was in a upset, which the video was shown to the counselor lady, and Albert was upset because he was like, you should have let me get the video or something like that. But Gannon was in more of like an upset rage because this was in the very beginning when he had to first transition to another school.
Was this fall?
No, so this would have been, I don't know if it would have been fall, but okay, so 4th grade, new school, home school, Then they went to the first school in Colorado, and then a new school opened.
Correct.
So it was somewhere between that time frame of, again, it was too much transition for him. That had nothing to do with him being mad at me or being mad at Albert or Landon or whatever. It was too much transitions for him that he was so upset. Like, you know, like,
But where was he when he was doing this? Was he in his room, in the
I feel like it
garage?
was.
And where were
I
you?
don't really. Ask me something that was a while ago. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean,
Were you threatened by Gannon doing that? Did it
I
make
told-
you nervous?
well, I told Albert. I said it has a mentality. Like in my mind, I said it has a mentality of like he's going to want to not hurt himself, or not just specifically hurt someone in general, but specific, but in general. And so, like, I was a little worried because I thought he had so much anger and aggression for what was going on. Because it honestly was, Albert hadn't even got there yet, I feel like Albert had just either got to Colorado or hadn't got there yet.
Right.
And so he had to go from being with his mom back to me, and then Albert wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, okay, like, I got to start new school. I got to make new friends, you know, like all those things.
How did you handle it? How did you calm him down?
He
Yeah.
was typically always,
I'm specifically with the box cutter thing. How did you calm him down?
I don't know if it was a knife he had then. I was just saying, like, he had been using a box cutter, so that's how I was
Okay.
teaching him. Right? So I remember I took his amiibo. He loves amiibos. And I took his amiibo and I just threw his amiibo out the front yard. And I told him, I was like, the amiibo's gone. We're never getting it again. And I made him call his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't remember what we exactly said, but I know she was basically saying, like, you know, you better listen. She gets upset and sends me a message. I send her a message back, and we were both like mad at each other, as in me and Landon. And then it was kind of more of like, okay, it's calm down. But this was a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So that was the gist of that. It was, he needed that outlet.
Okay.
He needed that counseling.
Well, that helps us.
So pausing you at 55 minutes and 32 seconds. Again, she's showing a good ability to recall different events that have occurred during her time with Gannon.
She is.
She says that there's some video of some knife or box cutter incident. Did you ever see such a video?
I did not.
Do you know if one even actually existed?
No.
Was there a portion of the interview that you did with her where she relays to you that she had somehow convinced Gannon to call her different names?
Yes.
The way that she's talking about that with you, did that seem like that was a calculated move on her part, meaning that she's trying to convince Gannon to do this?
Yes.
Okay. Let's jump to that. That's going to start at 57 minutes and 15 seconds. And we'll play it through 57 minutes and 47 seconds.
Sir, it's so hard because
John,
I'm sorry.
I'm old, but
I'm
don't call
sorry,
me.
John. It's so hard because if I get up in the morning and Gannon would even say, "You want me to take the dogs out so you can have 10 more minutes of sleep?" And I convinced him into changing my name.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go on board of like calling me a different name. I didn't ever like my original name, so I had to on board of calling me a different name. So the helpfulness.
So as it relates to those that different names that she's referring to, the reason that she gives in the interview was because she didn't like her original name.
That's right.
Did she ever talk about that in any other time, either on those phone calls that you were a part of, or even during this interview, about how she would go as a different person or different name?
Not that I was a part of, no.
Did this appear to be, the way she's describing it, a voluntary act on her behalf to get Gannon to call her a different name because she didn't like her original name?
Yes.
Did you ask her about the candle incident and the fire in the basement and keeping Gannon home?
I did.
Why'd you ask about that?
we as investigative team were very unclear on what happened with the candle incident, and she ascribed a lot of injuries to Gannon, including burns on his arms, blood, that sort of thing. So I wanted to see how she would talk about it to me.
Okay, so we'll jump to that section next, and we're going to jump to 1 hour and 1 minute and 20 seconds and play through 1 hour, 26 minutes and 58 seconds.
The candle incident. Can you tell me about that?
Okay, so Gannon wanted to, I don't remember if he wanted to stay up 30 minutes. I can't remember. There was something he did that allowed him to earn some extra time. There was something he did. But Albert had grounded him from playing a Switch. So he wasn't allowed to, play a Switch or whatever. He was only allowed to, wanted to watch Grusing.
Right.
Well, on the hike earlier that day, he was so helpful with me. People think he's sick and he's still whatever, but I have serious stomach issues and still have to operate. But he was so helpful with taking care of the dogs and stuff. And I had told Gannon that, yeah, so that kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember that.
So we sat around and, we had before we left, we were on the sofa and I'm just crying. He didn't know who that was. He knew the name, but not growing up in my generation to know who that was. So we just sat there and talked about it. And I told him, Kobe had started relating in the terms of being like me, I have all sisters. And so we were talking about that. And in between some of those questions might have been certain questions that led to what he was asking me about what went on school in the thing, in the talk.
Right.
And so that led into on the hike that day about what we talked about. So then that evening, I don't remember what he did, but I remember he had 30 minutes of something extra. And I knew it wasn't his Nintendo or things like that at the time because he wasn't supposed to earn that back until the next day. And so then we had, I think I was upstairs, Harley wasn't there. Harley had to work. Harley had to work until I think it was and then Gannon had, what was he doing? He was doing something, I don't remember. So I go back upstairs, then I hear the machine was saying beep, 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 is someone that's coming in the house.
Okay.
So I put the code in thinking, so why is the alarm thing off? Open or none of that stuff. No doors open. So then I go back where Lena was at and I see she was faking sleeping, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
And then but she had the cover over her head a little bit. And so she was doing whatever. And so then I hear the thing saying fire.
Does it actually say fire?
It said fire.
Okay.
So that was the crazy thing because I never had heard. I didn't know what. I thought it would just be
right, like a siren.
But I don't know if it was the detector thing saying fire or if it was the actual. But it was just fire, 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 whatever. So then I run back in there and I look and I don't see anything, I don't see anything that look downstairs and I don't see anything. And it was still going. So I grabbed Lena. I'm going to tell you exactly wrong, but I'm pretty sure I grabbed Lena first. I grabbed the dog. I think that's how it went. Don't quote me on that. But I'm sure it was in that order.
Yeah.
And we run out to the truck with the light. Either I open the door. I don't remember. Somehow they get to the truck.
Okay.
And then I run back downstairs because at this point I already know I'm up there. And so I run back downstairs. And we're back downstairs, and Deanna was awake, but not awake. How you can almost be asleep, but not asleep type thing. And
so he was in his bed?
No. He wasn't in his bed.
Where was
he? Was on the sofa.
On the sofa.
Right. So he was on the sofa. And so when I pull the cover, I pull Gannon with the cover. And so at this point in time, then I put the fire that's out.
So what did the fire look like?
It wasn't huge.
Where was it? In the carpet? On the sofa?
I feel like it was on one of the covers.
on the covers? Was the cover on the sofa though, or was it on the floor?
I don't remember. I just remember it was in a small location. It wasn't a big enough fire to.
What color was it? Do you remember? Was it yellow, red, orange?
I don't remember. Wasn't in a color to like. Wasn't in
Because
a,
I think what blue burns the hottest, and then you have stuff. If stuff gets involved in the fire, you have a yellowish or reddish color.
I don't remember.
Don't remember?
I don't remember.
How, can you show me how tall it was? Like, do you
I don't
remember?
remember. It wasn't tall.
Wasn't tall.
I don't feel like it was that tall. I mean, but my tall might be different. I don't want to. I don't.
Still, a fire's going to freak you out.
Right. Yeah. So when I pull the cover, I pull him with the cover too, and we run out.
Did you put out the fire or no?
I know that we took the covers, both of us. When he sees what's going on, we took the covers and like we smashed down on it. Yeah, because my honest thought was oxygen, put it out.
Right.
That was all I could think of. You know, put it out, whatever.
Did it take much? Sorry to interrupt. Did it take a lot to put it out or no? Or did you just smother it and then move? Or was it something in between?
Was there what now?
Something in between. You know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Something in between?
Like in between, just it happened real quick, or you had to fight it for a while, or
Oh, it wasn't like fighting for a while. Like there was already a bunch of covers on the side that we had. That I had grabbed them all and put it here. Which is why the whole thing was all covers. There was like different covers all up everywhere. There was like stuff there. And then I run, and he's running behind me, setting up. He like trips or whatever, but he's right behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think I exit back out the garage. I feel like.
The truck was in the garage.
No. It was out front.
Oh,
I'm
out
saying
front.
like I think I exited back out the garage. Because I feel like I just ran back to that door. I'm not 100% positive. I know we ran out. Then Ganna runs right out behind me, and when I turned around and I'm saying something to him because I'm like, hey, because in my mind I don't remember if I had gotten the dogs, even though I had already had grabbed the dogs. And so like I don't remember what we were saying, but we were all in a freak, whatever. He jumped in the passenger side, and I'm in the driver's side of the truck.
Okay.
Lena is in the back, and at that point we drive off. So we drive off for a minute. We drive back, but there's no gas in the truck.
So was anybody burned from that?
So Gannon had
You or Gannon?
Gannon had little burns on his arms from that, and then but at the time, Gannon always lays with like his either like his underwear on, or like something like that. So at the time when we ran out, I feel like did you have a shirt? I don't remember if he grabbed a shirt or grabbed another cover. But I knew that he had some burns on his arm, but I know they weren't bad, like burns that were bad. They were just like you can feel it or whatever.
Were they discolored then? Was it skin reddish, pinkish? What was it? Did you see it then? Or
No, it was not till later that I really like paid attention and should have been like, okay, well, because I did later on on it. But so yeah, so like his arms, and then we get in the truck or whatever, and we'll drive off. So then we come back, and so I'm of course, and like I text Harley, I text Albert, what had happened, and I said, this is what happened. Tell Harley this is what happened. Don't panic when you come home. Because the house at this point in time we get back in smells like nothing but smoke, and so nothing but smoke at this point in time, and it was just like I couldn't get the smoke out. Even opening up the like windows and all these things, I couldn't get the smoke out. So that was.
So what happened with these covers that you used to put out the flame?
Well, the covers were either left there. I remember getting some of the stuff, and putting outside in the trash can, which I even showed the people when they got there that I put in the trash can.
Do you guys have singular trash cans for each house there, or just do you have a dumpster or what?
Really, like it's a big trash. It's just a big brown trash.
One of the wheel ones you wheel out and put by the curb. Okay.
Yeah, it was just one of those. It was no one was like whatever, but we did want Albert. So like like, come home, like, come, not necessarily come home and meet for that, but we maybe like had updated a little bit to Albert because we were like thinking, you know, like said and whatever, 'cause, you know, like whatever. So in my message to Albert probably was a little bit like a little more over exaggeration, just because I was.
When you say we, did you talk with the kids about let's get Albert home?
No. We did sit down, and because when I was asking him, like, was this, you know, did you do this on accident? Was this an accident? You know, whatever. And so we were just talking about, you know, like the whole thing. Everybody was in one room. We were all in the bedroom at the time, which was our bedroom upstairs.
Okay.
So we were all in the bedroom upstairs and talking, and, you know, whatever. And I said, I got to let your daddy know. And then I was not going to tell him. That was the original thing. I was not to tell him. It was just to fix it and not tell him.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I was like, if I just do that, then we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But then that was just enough to be like, oh, well, maybe Albert would be like, oh, or, you know, it was hard, like, you know, always all of us was there going through all these memories and doing all these things without him, you know, like being there.
No, I get it.
So that was
So
the
did
hardest
Gannon agree that was a good idea to kind of play it up a little bit?
Did he agree?
Yeah.
We all were in like an agreement.
So how did you play it up? Was the fire really not that big and you made it like it was a big deal? Or
well, so whenever
just
we
to
were,
get Al to say, hey, maybe I should get back home.
when we were explaining it to people in general, like that was our whole like, oh my God, whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, you saw that, like, if the people that we messaged, we made it more of like a situation, like than what it really was.
Yeah, because I couldn't understand how a candle could make a big fire, because my wife lights candles all the time around the house, and if we knocked them over, and if you knock it over, kind of nothing happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it might singe the carpet a little bit.
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures, and I'm surprised that, you know, that much of the carpet was burned.
Well, it was probably because, I don't know, but I know that we did go, like, push down on the carpet, and it was covered, the cover was wrapped up on it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know, like.
That's what I was just curious about, the burn itself on the carpet, because that looks awfully big for a candle.
I didn't even think that was even big. Was that really big?
Yeah, I mean, it's that big for a candle, because, like I said, my wife, we look like a church sometimes with all the candles she lights.
Yeah.
We have dogs running around with kids.
Yeah, no, it was.
I was just surprised a candle could make, you know, a big black thing in the carpet that much. That it might have been held there for a little while.
Yeah.
Maybe he tried to set.
I don't know. But see, the thing is, I don't know that Gannon would try to, like, purposely, like, set something on fire. I don't know. I know that he did tell me later that he thought that I was coming downstairs, and he was playing his game. So I don't know. So he was
playing his game when he knocked the candle over?
Yeah, so he did tell us, he told me and Lena and all of us that when we were all talking together, he told us, thought I was coming downstairs, like, to catch him on his game.
Oh, that's why he knocked it over.
I don't know. I don't know if he accidentally or thought, you know, whatever. I just know he said that he thought.
But did he take any responsibility for knocking the candle over, or did it just say it happened, or what?
No, he did say that.
Okay.
He did say that he had done it, that he had started it, or whatever. And I asked. That's why I kept asking him, like, did you do it on purpose?
That's what I'm curious about.
Or did you, you know, was it an accident? He told me an accident. He thought I was coming downstairs. So, and to me, sir, we could afford to buy another
for sure
sofa and another carpet. Now, that's not a problem. Like, I mean, you're talking about, like, things that we had and nice things that we can afford to buy that. So that was not a point of contention, and Gannon very well would have known that too.
So did it burn? It burned the sofa also?
I don't think it burned the sofa. I'm just saying, like, in general in the area, whether if it would have burned sofa, TV, all that.
Right. Did he light the candle?
We could afford to do it.
Candle? Do you know?
The candle he had already lit the candle because the dogs were, and so he had already lit the candle, which we allowed.
Does he normally do that?
Yeah, we allowed him to he could light the candle if he wanted to. He was allowed to open, like, packages that came. That's where I was saying Albert taught him how to use like the box cutter and stuff like that. He was allowed to do those type of things. As long as, you know, he was usually within reason, like, okay, I'm not going to go like, you know, like, or something like that. When I was little too, like I did the same thing about curious about matches, but we had already given him enough of, you know, like safety talks about, like Albert, when he talked to him about using the box cutters and knives, he always showed him the right direction, you know, not to just go to like, you know, cut them from boxes and stuff. So he had already had these, you know, talks about the correct way to do these things.
Well, it explains those two. So I've got the bath salts, the candle, and now the foot injured in the garage. Tell me about that.
The foot injured.
Sorry, before I go there, so we don't forget, you said peeling these later.
I just remember that on Monday his arm had a little bit of peeling to it. And that's when I said in my mind, and like I told the earlier here, that I did at that point say, I probably should like think about if I need to, if later on after I put stuff on it, I need to think about if it gets worse, you know, monitor the situation, you know, like those type of things.
Did you put stuff on it or no?
Well, we had took that green aloe stuff and we had took and put the dog had just had get bit before, so already had that little wrap stuff.
Okay.
And so we had already done that in that situation.
Did you put it on both arms?
I think it was the right arm, I feel like.
And then when did you do that? Was that Sunday night, Monday morning, both?
I think it was Sunday night. No, actually it wasn't. It was through the night because we stayed up late. So it would have already been Monday morning hours, like into Monday morning.
So why were you guys up late?
Because we couldn't breathe. The smell was so like it's like stuck in the house from the smoke. We couldn't breathe. No matter what we did.
So where did you guys hang out until you could breathe?
We slept in our room, and then we opened all the windows downstairs.
Okay. And all four of you slept in?
So Lena, Harley, Nee, and him were in the room for a while. Then Gannon went to, yeah. So then Gannon went to Lena's room for a while, but then he was in his room by the time he woke up. So I don't know if he got open.
What time do you think you went to Lena's room? Was it after midnight?
Or I don't know.
When did you call him in sick? It was pretty early in the morning.
Well, what happened is all I did was I called and asked about his stomach. It was anything to do with the fire. My question was, I'd already given him Miralax, which was like, you know, so we had a prescription over the counter. I say whatever it is, prescription Miralax, whatever it's or whatever. And I'd already given him that. And so then I also had X-Lax. And I thought, you know, at what point can I not, like how much is enough if I can't get him to pass this? At what point is there enough, or can I go ahead and do it like an enema? Albert can tell you, I've given him an enema before, and like things like that, because it gets so bad and they're just so big and they get clogged up. So that was the concern about how to get him to pass that. Because like for me, I have to I can drink 10 scoops of Miralax.
Won't affect you.
It won't affect me at all. Yeah. And so I didn't want it to be where it was. And then also, the combination is different in my stomach because, like I said, if I take 10 of them, I'm okay.
So he's having the squirts and he started having those in the hike, but he couldn't pass that whole evening. Is that right?
Right. He would get out, but like couldn't get like the whole thing out. And that was sometimes if he finally, and then when he finally
had to be
gets
painful,
one out,
wasn't it? Or...
For me, I lay in the bathroom and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Like whenever.
Was he telling you he was in pain?
Well, he sits on the toilet. His common thing is that he'll sit on the toilet and just sit there and sit there and sit there. So as long as he's got something to focus with, Gannon's pain tolerance is very high when it comes to just sitting there focusing. So I mean, he
spent a lot of time in the bathroom that evening, just sitting there.
Yeah, off and on in the bathroom. And we got kids meals, but he came out and ate his kids meals. There, so I said,
McDonald's or what?
No, we Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah. Okay. So I had originally said Burger King, but that's not Burger King right there. That's Carl's Jr.
Got it.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. because I never got a call sheet, but we got 2 kids meals, and I think I got Lena went with me to go get it. So he ate the kids meal when we got back.
But he still hadn't passed. So.
Well, if he ate, he had done something. He had already used it some because he wouldn't have eaten.
And had you given the Miralax before the meal then?
I had already given him Miralax like throughout the week. We always had this thing where if I went in there and took one of my shots, like of say berries or something like that, he would take one too. So it was common for me to be like, okay, here, mix. And Albert would always say, go mix him up one of the drinks because we put in orange juice. Well, he didn't like juices as much unless it was like Kool-Aid juices. So it was a common thing to always try to give Miralax to regulate the system. But the problem is, if you don't take the Vyvanse, say you don't take it for a day, like he didn't take it on Saturday, because family was in town, and say you don't take it on Saturday, and if you don't take it on Sunday, that's when it starts to happen. That's when the constipation and the diarrhea kind of comes out of his hand. So, like, let's say if he would have took it Saturday, and let's say he would have took it Sunday, he wouldn't have been as bad. Right. But then the problem is, Albert always would want him not on it if we're going to go do like a big time activity, because instead of having him like, zoned out, I mean, zoned out.
Yeah. That was the Vyvanse stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like the thing was, if we go somewhere that requires him to have like things, then that we don't want him to be under that Vyvanse and just have to be like zoned in. We want him to be, especially like on the hike, I wanted him to be able to like run around and do things. Because me and him were always on the top of all, like if we had hiked, we were always on the top of hikes. We were always the ones, like,
right?
Leading, doing everything.
So was he bleeding that night? Do you know?
From
rectally,
from
anally, yeah.
So what happens is from him squeezing, I'm
trying to figure out, things are going on with him these last couple hours.
Yeah, so like from him squeezing and stuff like that, his does the same thing as mine does, and mine doesn't. So that's why I told you we're so much alike, and we could relate on that because it was like, oh my gosh, your butt, and just from squeezing and things like that, and that wasn't like
okay, so it wasn't a copious amount.
Yeah,
just because of him struggling with that all night or that evening into the night. You don't know when he eventually felt good, or
how it works is he might feel good, and then it gets where it's hurting still until he gets it all out. It's not until he returns like 100% of being like, okay, I'm back to Gannon.
Did he get back to Gannon that night
for Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was fine. I thought he earned extra time to like, be able to stay up and stuff.
Yeah, but I thought, was he not struggling with this after the candle incident?
Right. Like what happens is, I mean, if you want to call him a GI person, but he gets where he's okay, and then a little bit more okay, and a little bit more. They happen every once a month ish, where he goes through those episodes of his stomach and mind those things. No.
So when you guys were up in the bedroom, how was he?
You mean like after
the flame and fire and smoke?
He was upset and like crying because he thought he was going to lose his switch like for a long time. Like he thought, that biggest thing was, I don't care, we'll just do whatever. I knew whatever. I would be quicker to cover up because we just related on the same page, more so than Lane, because Lane would be grabbing and sure, whatever. Deanna could be more of like, we can have a secret and talk and say.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd be more inclined. Don't tell anybody, we'll fix it. And so that was kind of like our conversation, what we were talking about. Yeah, he was upset, like very, like upset and hurt and just trying to do whatever, but we also kind of just.
So how late do you think he stayed up with you in the room until he finally left?
I don't know.
Was it past midnight, or do you know?
I don't know. I just want to So whenever he went to Lena's room, I think we walked out. I don't remember exactly, but I know we all, because all four of us couldn't fit in the bed plus 2 dogs. So at one point in time, we had to switch the whole. And I feel like at one point Harley was sleeping on the sofa, and then Harley and Lena switched because we were up. Like I said, we couldn't breathe. It was very smoky. So we were all like, when Lena went to school, I'm pretty sure she probably went to school. Like exhausted.
Right.
Because like
So Lena was real sleepy, but she went to school.
yeah, like what I'm saying is when she woke up, she probably was like really like felt like she could have used a couple more hours.
So why did you call Gannon in sick and not her?
Well, she wasn't struggling with stomach problems.
So he still had him in the morning.
Right. So it wasn't, I even had messaged Albert the other night and said, hey, I asked him. Like I asked him, and they said, okay, it's getting things out. And so that was,
yeah.
but he didn't respond because he was on a different time zone.
So you called in sick though too for your work.
Judge, that's at 1:26:58, which was where I intended to stop, and this is probably a good time for lunch.
Yes, it is. All right. Mr. Grusing, you can go ahead and step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our noon recess. If I can have everyone back in the jury room a little bit before 1:30, we could be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do your own research about any aspect of this case. With that, we'll see you at 1:30. Have a good lunch. All rise for the jury, please.
Okay, that was interesting. She certainly changed her tune when she was talking to the agent that looks like Randy Travis. She wasn't spinning such a tall yarn anymore, but still the fire story makes no sense. So when he said it's just odd that the carpet would burn like that, and she just keeps talking and keeps talking and keeps talking. Hang on, I gotta turn that down. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end this stream, and then we're gonna go into the members live, so you can hop in there because we have some stuff to discuss about what's going on in another case. And then we will be back here as soon as the lunch is over, which I think is at 2:20 my time. So 2:20 Central Time, roughly an hour and a half. We'll be back on Trial Watch. So you'll have to go to the channel because it's not this same stream. It's a totally separate stream. So I will see you over in the members live. See you in about 5 seconds.